Welcome to Fandom Power.
What's up, everybody? It's a surprise. It's me.
Surprise. I was looking at other things.
It's me, Hank, and Andy. I wasn't supposed to be here tonight, but circumstances have changed, and I got home just in time. I think I've been home now for less than 45 minutes.
Wow.
Less than 45 minutes, and here I am, ready to go. I'm tired from driving. The 3-hour drive.
That's some dedication.
Yeah, but you know what? There was a part of me before I left for the weekend that was disappointed at the thought of missing, and I was trying to figure out, how can I do this if I stream YouTube in the car while I'm driving home? I can connect Android Auto and I can listen to it as I'm driving, and I can make my wife, comment for me as I'm driving. But it didn't work out that way. Here I am, and I am pleased as pie to welcome everybody. Welcome to our inaugural episode of Fandom Power Presents, the Acolyte in Review, because there's no way to shoehorn fan into this. So
no,
this might be our most boring title in a while.
Agreed.
Hopefully the title is more boring than the show. I know that there's a difference in opinion between the three of us on that.
Yeah. I think this may be we're very far apart. This may be the furthest we've ever been apart.
I know, and I mean we did have some private chat, and I was trying to be the voice of reason that I think I normally am. I try to be a little more level, try to balance the what's bad with what's good, and try to see through stuff, but it's hard sometimes. And I think this one for you, Hank, as you will tell us, was particularly difficult for you.
Yeah. And I'm going to be I want to be respectful to what we do, because I'm a big proponent of not punching down on things. I have a few jokes, but I have dark humor, and I apologize if they offend people. They're not meant to offend anybody. I just have a few jokes peppered in my notes for sure. I also think that what's coming out, when you so I do a thing, I just headlines, and it there's a ton of clickbait. We've all been caught by clickbait for sure, but a thing that I do, and I have been doing since probably 2015 every day, so it's a hard habit to break even when you're trying not to, is I wake up in the morning and I Google Star Wars news. And
That's a tough one.
I've been hit in the head by just this, both sides going absolutely ape shit. Absolutely.
With everything that was, you make a great point. There was so much with the lead up to this show. There was so much discussion around what it might be, what it might look like, what creatives were talking about, what this actor said, what this creative said, and I knew that this was going to be pardon the term, but this was going to be a whirlwind shitstorm of controversy.
Yeah.
When we got to the show, we actually got to the show, and I guess I'll put this out as my initial thought of the first two episodes in general was, it's not a whirlwind shit show per se. In fact, there are some things that I quite like about this. I like what the show has set up for the twins. I like the idea that there's a mystery here that we're going to follow. And I like the idea that, Andy, you had said that it appears that the Jedi are sort of at the height of their power. Mm-hmm. I would say that the Jedi are also at the height of their arrogance. And it's clear that the Jedi, and possibly members of the Jedi Council, have been involved in some shady stuff. And that's got me, I'm interested. I'm interested in that. I'm interested in following this story. I'm hoping that it will pan out in a worthwhile way. And so, yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic about this stuff, and I usually am. And so far, I'm I'm not really disappointed. Sure, I have my nitpicks, which we'll get to when they come up organically in the breakdown. But overall, I like it.
Nice. On my first watch, I went into it with like zero expectations. So
Right.
I'm pleasantly satisfied with what I got. Like going into it, we knew practically nothing about what this was going to be. Like we were all just guessing, right? Like, oh, it's going to be Palpatine's origin or something.
Yeah,
But it's turned out to be none of those things.
So far. I've seen people trying to theorize about who the mystery Sith person may be, who they might be. Timeline. Is this Plagueis? Is this Plagueis's master?
I feel, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but a lot of times I feel like I'm in on it. Like I know anyway. Even on the shows where I'm like, oh, this is amazing, but I think I know where we're going, and then I'm always like pleasantly surprised when I'm. But I actually I have a pretty strong indication of who that Sith guy is, and I even think that I know what the major plot beat for the entire show is going to be, and I don't think it's very veiled.
Do you want to throw that out now, like ahead of everything, and just kind of let that permeate?
I think the poisoner is the Sith guy.
So you're talking Manny Jacinto's character.
When we get there in my notes, I'll explain both moments that make me go 100%. I can be wrong though, and I would be pleasantly surprised if I'm wrong. And I think you're going to find that Twins is actually some schizophrenic fight club / the Sixth Sense kind of twist.
That's an interesting thought. I never considered that.
But it already feels clunky to me.
I mean, for that to be talking about the Sixth Sense,
that's what I called it in my notes.
The
Sixth Sense. That's what
the Sixth Sense.
Yep.
When I think about the Sixth Sense, I mean, only Bruce Willis's character and Haley Joel Osment's character were in on it, but we already have an external third person, Master Soul, who already has said publicly there was another.
Yeah.
Now, mind you,
when I watched her die,
that doesn't preclude Osha from having her experiences and not talking about it. But we'll
find out that the characters are a dyad in the Force, that May is actually dead, and that through some Force ability, much like Luke Skywalker exhibits in The Last Jedi, when she goes to sleep, she just goes out killing Jedi, and then she wakes up shocked more times than I can count, going,
that's an interesting thought too. Yeah. All of these ideas though, like that is interesting. Yeah. That is interesting. I think that's I want to talk about the twin thing for a second, because we talked about that before. I know, Hank, you made a joke. Oh, we've never seen that before.
We've never seen that before.
Never seen that before. I mean,
no.
But this is let's presume for a moment that it is twins. It's okay. It's okay if it's twins. I mean, this sets up a much more clear analysis of that stuff that the Bendu was talking about, the Ashla and the Bogan, the light and the dark. And I think that is interesting. It is a common, can I call it a common Star Wars trope? Can I say that?
At this point, I would think so.
I think so. Yeah. Explored it, maybe
especially when you consider Legends. Legends.
We have Luke and Leia who were unaware of each other up until it was in front of their faces.
Up until it was too late and he'd already kissed her.
Yeah. Up until the script change. Yeah. But in this case, we have a set of twins, canonical twins, maybe, that are aware of each other, that have a clear history, and each one thinking the other one was dead. Mm-hmm. That's a different take on that.
Yeah.
I find that there's enough here that I am hooked. I'm ready for more, and I hope it plays out in a fun, interesting Scooby-Doo mystery kind of way.
Okay.
All right.
Let's check in with the comments before we dive in.
Oh, let's do that. Sure.
TJC.
What TJC in the house? Hello, sir.
Gaz as well.
Howdy, fellow Sith Lords.
And Doug as well.
Dougie! Oh my gosh! Put the naked layman gay.
Okay, that's funny.
Wow,
but that's not why we're here. That's funny though.
Yeah, that's on the nose, man.
Well, speaking of funny, should we kick it off with?
You want to do that? All right, let's hit it. Bad Star Wars jokes.
What did Dr. Akbar say to his patient?
Oh, doctor, not Admiral.
Oh,
Dr.
Oh.
Akbar. Wait. I need a
it's
nap.
cancer.
No, I don't know.
It's the clap.
Oh,
Nice.
oh, Jesus, that's the wrong thing.
I would rather get cancer. Yeah. That's
Wow.
great. It's the clap.
Yep.
Your penis can't repel something of that magnitude.
That
Somewhere. There's a joke there
magnitude.
somewhere.
Need more protection.
So Andy and Hank, you guys worked really hard on this one. I just want to, before we get into it, I just want to thank you both. I know I fully did not plan on being here. Had I known that I was going to be home.
Had fun. What are you doing?
Listen, I
went out
tried.
Writing
Getting
doing notes and
broadcasted,
slides
though.
on the road would not have worked, though. How would you do
that is true.
Like,
that is true.
you know,
I've tried that
You
before.
were broadcasting all weekend.
I
for
did.
us.
I tried to check in at least once a day on our social media to sort of give some convention updates. It didn't work out the way I wanted it to. The internet connection at the convention center was awful, as you can attest to, as the things that you were asking me to do
Yeah,
were
I
happening
asked for a
hours
notification,
later.
and you got it 2 hours later.
2 hours later, I'm like, I just got it now. So yeah.
Oh,
But
good.
Tuesday night we'll talk about the convention on Tuesday night, because I think there's enough there that we
I
can
think so.
spend some time on that.
What's TJC saying here?
TJ says, I'm not against female lead characters, but the story has to be good. For instance, Aliens. Ripley is an awesome character.
True.
Ripley is an awesome
She
character.
is Ellen Ripley.
Padme is a pretty good character. Leia's a great character.
I like them both. I like them
Yes.
both. You know what? And I'm even okay with Reva, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't have really any problems with Reba. There's other issues there. There's some little clunky writing. None of these are the performer's problem.
They're doing the job that
I
they
would
were
say
hired
they're
to
doing the
do.
job that they're hired to do. Whether they're objectionably good at their craft or not is you could say it could be subjective too. But I sort of agree. It has to be a good story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no matter what your opinion is, whether you are pro or con for the Acolyte and what we've seen so far, we want to know all of your thoughts. So just like TJC, drop all your comments in the live chat. Let us know what you think. And let's get into it.
Alrighty.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Apropos.
There we
That's
go.
the one. Yeah, there
There
you
we
go.
go.
That looks good.
So this one, The Acolyte, episode 1, titled Lost/Found. This one is written and directed by Leslie Headland. Originally aired June 4th, 2024, alongside episode 2. Has a listed runtime of 43 minutes, but it clocks in at 36:27 without titles and credits. The episode synopsis reads, "The Jedi pursue a suspect after a shocking crime." I'll say.
Dun dun dun.
So we do get a little bit of opening context for this episode. It's not exactly the legendary Star Wars crawl, but it reads as follows. 100 years before the rise of the Empire, it is a time of peace. The Jedi Order and the Galactic Republic have prospered for centuries without war, but in the dark corners of the galaxy, a powerful few learn to use the Force in secret. One of them, a lone assassin, risks discovery to seek revenge.
Did you like that they went back to the a long time ago font and peppered that in like that?
A little bit, yeah. It's a nice
It's
kickoff.
very similar. It's like the inverse of the Ahsoka thing with the red font.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it totally is, isn't it?
And I dig that we know exactly when it falls, because 100 years before the rise of the Empire is 119 BBY, and we were all thinking, because it was sort of told to us that it was 100 years before Phantom Menace. So, and they're not terribly off, but there's about 20 years difference there, and I think that can make a difference in a world that big.
For sure. Leave a little bit of wiggle room.
That's a generation's worth of people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or a couple, really.
Yeah. We open our episode on the remote planet of Udea, located near a distant space station. A haven for wanderers, Udea offers mountain ranges, green lush islands, and wide bodies of water. We find our lone assassin as she departs from her vessel and heads towards that island village. And she offers a credit to an alien local for information, and they quickly point out the direction of her target. This alien local is like a cross between a Jawa and somebody cosplaying Darth Vader.
He reminds me of the what's his name? The nose guy in A New Hope when they're like, oh,
A
he's
little bit,
around
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. That guy.
Yeah.
Whatever's in that bottle that he's snorting, I don't know.
Yeah. But it's almost like he's got his
Spice.
little respirator box there.
Kind of, yeah.
But a fun little side note here on our assassin's costume. It incorporates elements inspired by samurai and Byzantine warriors, including a section over the ribcage that is molded from real bamboo shoots.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool.
I have the book. I won't run and get it, but it's super similar to the one of the Jedi killers in The Force Awakens when they were doing when they finally landed on Kylo Ren, but they were doing all kinds of takes on a Jedi killer, and one was female. It looked more like Asajj Ventress, but with the weird dreads and the purple and this palette and almost the same armor. I'll try to throw that in the chat for you guys after.
So are you saying that this is potentially a reused idea from The Force Awakens?
Well, it feels like, yeah, there's a few actually that are from that, and I just in terms of she's dipping into like lore, like
no, that's great.
Unused asset that was like, it's a dope design. When you see the original design, you're like, it's a very interesting design. So I think it incorporates that with the samurai for sure.
And that is
you get that ninja vibe by the
with the mask.
Yeah. It is a very Star Warsian thing to do, though, to pull from other concepts and things that maybe didn't get as much screen time or none at all.
Yeah. And by the way, the best costume in 2 episodes so far, for sure.
Her costume.
Yeah.
This one. Oh, cool.
Yep.
Yeah. So our assassin makes her way to the Lomi Uski noodle shop in town and enters.
I'm sorry, what did you call that?
The Lomi Uski noodle shop.
The Lomi Uski.
That's courtesy of the Star Wars Databank.
Oh, Databank. Okay, Databank coming through this week.
As she crosses the eatery floor, we'll see all manner of alien enjoying noodles and drinks being served by droids, as well as the owner, Kabak, who tends the bar. Side note here, the Lomi Uski noodle shop pays homage to the inn scene in the Shaw Brothers Hong Kong classic, Come Drink With Me.
Oh,
so
nice.
Taking, more influence from
Asian culture, Asian cinema too.
Yeah. Our assassin approaches the table in the back corner of the shop where we find Jedi Master Indara dining with a diverse group of compatriots. And she calls out to Master Indara, who responds with a calm, "Yes, my child?" And our assassin tells her that they have unfinished business, then takes an elegant fighting stance and compels the Jedi to attack her with all her strength. But Indara's
she delivered that line.
Yeah,
I got shivers. Not in a good way.
No, I get why. But Indara's company,
it was very cringy.
Yeah. The entire company bursts out laughing at the thought of the statement. But Indara raises her hand to silence them and tells the assassin she appreciates her courage, but she has no quarrel with her. Again, the assassin beckons her to attack, but Indara counters that Jedi do not attack the unarmed. But coldly, the assassin hisses, "Yes, you do."
And that's really our first indication that something has happened.
Yes. But at the same time, like you're saying, Hank, I mean, she just walks up and says, let's go. But in this era, nobody is walking up to a Jedi and going, "Let's go." Right? The
you're
thought
right.
of it
You're
is
right.
laughable.
I kind of thought it was weird, like, because first of all, we get this, like, pardon the analogy. Actually, I think the analogy is great. Essentially, we get the D&D opening. We open the entire show with a bar fight.
Yeah.
And I was kind of tickled at that. And then I look at this scene, especially look at the look on Gary Ann's face when she's looking, like, these other guys that she's sitting with, like,
they don't
do they not
anything?
Do they not look like the typical unsavories that you just that you don't expect a Jedi to be hanging out with?
Yeah, basically.
Which kind of lends itself to the Jedi have done something kind of shady, and here she is hanging out with some shady dudes.
Maybe. But there's a line that comes up later in the episode. It says, "Don't trust your eyes."
Oh no, and that's a reuse too. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Don't trust your eyes.
But back here, not to be taken lightly, our assassin first kicks out the chair from under one of the diners and then knocks another alien unconscious by slamming his head into the table. The other members of the party stand up and try to subdue the assassin, but she dispatches them with ease. And one patron gets hurled over a table while another gets put in a neck hold. The two-horned alien who was tossed over the table reaches for his blaster, but the assassin flips the table up for cover before using a force kick to send it flying across the room, flattening the alien. Again, we didn't see that much, right?
No.
And here she's just, winging the table.
I don't know that we've ever seen force augmented strength.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
But at this point, Jedi Master Indara steps in and grabs the assassin by the hand, but she slips her grasps and spins into an attack. And as the two begin their battle, Indara sidesteps the assassin, blocking her strikes and grabbing her by the wrist again. And the assassin tries multiple times to snatch the lightsaber from Indara's belt. And before long, the assassin pulls a knife and lunges forward, but Indara stops her with the force, holding her back. The assassin lunges forward with a second knife, but Indara counters the attack, grabbing both wrists, and then asks, "Who trained you?" And then the assassin flips free and leaps to the upper level of the eatery using a force-assisted jump. The assassin takes a female hostage and puts a blade to her throat as Indara leaps up to the second level as well. To distract the advancing Jedi, though, the assassin throws the woman over the rail, but Indara stops her before she slams into the ground with the force, gently setting her down on the ground. Indara looks up, but the assassin has vanished. And this is another one of those things, like, why in Empire did Vader not just, force grab Luke and pull him back up?
Oh, when he leaped off the yeah.
He did in the original script.
Did he?
I think it might even be in the Empire Strikes Back novel.
Okay.
But
That I would have to go back and reread.
Luke chooses twice almost to Paul, but I'd have to double check too.
Huh. But another one of those force uses.
I do find so on that note about the casual use of the force and how it's much more Hong Kong like. This is video game like using use of the force. It's like,
yep,
this combo of buttons, this thing happens, and it's cool. I like that it's
there's no stigma. Like, this is not the era of stigma against the force.
No,
they're the intergalactic police at this point. So it's widely accepted that Jedi are the authorities in the galaxy, even in the seedier places. And this is all High Republic lore. I'm not just like,
Yep.
No,
of course.
And that force use is common. You even see, like, later on in the episode, like the green chick, sorry,
Vanessa.
yeah. But she's supposed to be in Maryland. She opens the door to the room with it using the force. Like, she does the Obi-Wan Kenobi real life thing where we all.
It made me wonder if that was an actual force activated door. Like, there just is no mechanism. That is how you open the door.
I think it's more about how just like absolutely casual they are with. It's not, it's for everything. Whereas by the time you're a little bit more humble by the time of Attack of the Clones, where I really shouldn't be levitating this fruit over to cut it and give it to you,
right?
Padme,
Because it's kind of showmanship.
Obi-Wan
right?
would be very, yes.
Back here, Indara advances forward, and our assassin leaps out from behind a pillar, again slashing at the Jedi. They trade strikes, with the assassin landing a kick, knocking Indara back into the wall. But she recovers and uses the force, gaining the upper hand by sending the assassin skidding backwards. The assassin pulls a second knife and again attacks. Indara presses and, seizing the assassin's wrist again, disarms her of her second knife. But with the assassin in hand, she pulls the first knife away with the force and tosses it to the floor, and pulls the assassin's mask down, revealing a face that she is familiar with. Indara utters, "You?" before trying to move the assassin's hair aside, revealing a spiral-like tattoo on her forehead. Indara asks, "Why is she here?" But our assassin coldly replies, "I'm here to kill you." And using this moment of distraction, the assassin force pushes her across the catwalk, crashing her into a wall. And as Indara kneels and recovers, the assassin summons more knives into her hands with the force. This whole fight sequence here, online in the databank, it does say that it was paying homage to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, the influence is there.
The running up the railing and that's totally Crouching Tiger for sure.
Yeah,
it felt a tiny bit like over choreographed to me. Like, it felt like they might have filmed it and sped it up, but it's a minor gripe on this fight. this fight's got minor. That's very minor in this. It was I was like all in right now.
Nice. But the assassin with 4 blades in hand launches them at Indara, and with a swipe of her lightsaber, she slices the blades out of the air, knocking them to the ground. The assassin pulls one more knife as she backs up, Indara advancing. And the Jedi tells the assassin, "You don't want to go down this road. This is a fight you will not win." But the assassin counters with, "A Jedi doesn't pull their weapon unless they're prepared to kill." And at this, Indara pauses and straightens up from her attack stance, lowering her blade. Unknown to Indara, the assassin has produced another blade from her sleeve behind her back. And a noise from the lower level causes them both to take notice of the owner, Kabak, below. The assassin hurls her blade at Kabak using the force, Indara stops the blade inches from his head. The camera cuts back to Indara, and her shoulders go tense. And as the camera pans down, we find the assassin's hidden blade has struck Indara in the chest. Her lightsaber deactivates and falls to the floor.
I felt this was clever writing on the part of Leslie Headland, in that, of course, no matter what, shady shit or not, the Jedi could not fail to protect an innocent.
Yeah, like them over her.
And that was her undoing.
Yeah.
She was.
I guess I'll be the one to get petty. People can get run through with lightsabers, but now small knives take out seasoned Jedi masters.
Well, I mean, she is a human, and I mean that's like right to the heart.
Yeah.
Reva got run through twice by Darth Vader.
I'm sorry. What happened?
Yeah,
but our assassin.
So maybe there's no like back to spray handy or what have you. So
not on this backwater world.
Oh, maybe not. No, put some soup on it. I don't know.
I know you would.
This was my first. That was my first flag, though. I'll tell you that one. I went, oh, okay.
And you did send me a clip that I did not I failed to get.
Right.
But, Andrew Garfield in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Oh no!
My weakness, small knives.
Oh, when he's in the back seat of the car.
Yeah. Fighting off the.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, our assassin looks on with almost a look of disbelief in her victory. And below, the blade pointed at Kabak falls to the surface. Above, Indara collapses to one knee, trying to look up, but the assassin stands calmly, watching the life drain from the Jedi. Indara collapses to the floor dead. The Jedi now slain, the assassin looms over her opponent for a moment before slowly walking away, retrieving one of her blades with the Force, but leaving behind the lightsaber, which I found kind of weird because multiple times through the fight, she tried to grab it.
Oh, the lightsaber.
Yeah.
Well, I think probably would have used it against her.
Perhaps. But there's your trophy if you're collecting like
yeah, like the Inquisitors, like General Grievous.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I don't know. I find it weird that she left it.
That's not what it wasn't the prize.
True. But she strides to the bar and retrieves the blade that was flung at the shop owner, and Kabak raises his hands in submission, and the assassin raises her blade, posed to strike, but a noise draws her attention downward, and Kabak has a child who is desperately clinging to the shop owner's leg.
Yeah.
She looks back to Kabak and lowers her blade, then departs.
Would have been cooler if she killed the adult and then left a potential
orphaned child.
A Kill Bill-ish moment.
Classic. That's classic kung fu villain cinema.
Yep. But the camera iris is out, and we finally get our title card, the Acolyte. But before we go any further here, let's just talk about our assassin.
Oh yeah.
She's played by Amandla Stenberg.
Yeah, Amandla Stenberg.
Yeah, you might know her from her previous roles in The Hunger Games. And our Jedi Master Indara is played by Carrie Ann Moss, and you definitely know her from the Matrix saga as Trinity.
Shall we talk about and this is one of the things I think has a lot of the fans talking about.
This part kind of bugged me too. Like, you've got Trinity here, and she's dead.
You've got Carrie Ann Moss, who
arguably could be the biggest name in the cast so far.
Yeah, who was used extensively to market the show.
Yes.
Dead in
I've read ahead, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah.
and she will be back in flashbacks.
So
we're
okay, so I had this conversation too, and it was like I had this conversation with my wife, and she's like, you know, with what's going on with these two girls, obviously we're going to learn what exactly these 4 Jedi Masters were up to that she's out to kill, and we will find out what happened. This fire that was started, we'll find all of that out through a series of flashbacks.
Yeah.
So it's almost
spoiler. It wasn't Billy Joel.
it's almost we didn't start the fire. Why did you have to do that?
Sorry.
It's almost certain that we will see Carrie-Anne Moss again.
Yeah.
But again, like the flip side of that was, oh my God, you've got Carrie-Anne Moss and you've killed her. But then on the flip side of that is you've got Carrie-Anne Moss. Why wouldn't you use her to market your show?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's a good, sometimes we get subverted and sometimes it's anger inducing. And I think for some fans that this was that moment. But when I think about it as a whole, I think this was a good subversion. I like this one. As long as she actually does come back. If she doesn't come back, I'm going to take that back.
Fair enough. What's Gaz saying here?
A Sith would have collected the saber to give to their master. Poor knowledge on the writer's fault for not researching Star Wars lore.
Yeah, but the Sith are like back in their infancy, are they not?
I don't necessarily agree with that. There's no indication that a Sith would do that. I mean, sure, Kylo Ren didn't. He bled his own crystal to create his red lightsaber. I mean, is that a thing?
I don't know. Like we've established that the Inquisitors do, Grievous did, but
I don't know if it's
trophies.
One was collected arms.
It is contrary to what we've seen established before, but it's not that big a deal, I don't think.
No.
I mean, we're talking about a period of Star Wars history where the Sith are absent. They are absent. So right now, the guy that we saw with the red lightsaber, spoiler by the way, we know that he's a Sith, but the galaxy at large doesn't know that he's a Sith.
They don't
know what the Sith is.
Yeah.
So how do we know what a Sith does or doesn't do?
And there's always the outside chance that this I may be giving it too much credit, but that the guy in the mask with the sword is the Acolyte. That he's not.
Yeah.
Like that the Sith don't exist, but there's like these attempts from the dark side of the Force to bring players up.
Right.
Like perhaps. And we don't have a canon reason. Like we don't have the. It's been this long. Like we used to have that in Legends. It's been this long since the Sith were around. We have a big number from Phantom Menace, 1,000 generations.
Yeah, 1,000 generations.
Right.
TJC says, with regards to her trying to grab the lightsaber, I think her test is that she can only claim it while the Jedi is alive, which, if it follows the Vader comic, then she would bleed the crystal.
Fair enough.
This guy's got a follow-up. No, the Sith were in the rule of 2 at this point, and her mission is to kill 4 Jedi, and the saber will be proof that she completed the trial. That I can see. Here's my proof that I did it.
Yeah.
He seems to we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but he seems to give her the rules in the awkward epilogue scene at the end.
Yeah, I've got a thing with that too when we get there, but
the whole without a weapon?
Yeah.
That seems bizarre to me, but unless that's obviously some kind of test.
Yeah. But back to our episode here. We come back to a young woman bolting awake in her room at the sound of an alarm. She gasps for breath, clearly having waking from a nightmare. And the descriptive audio lady refers to her as the assassin. Look around.
Because that they wear the same face.
They are identical.
They do, yeah.
But looking around the room, she calms and then relaxes her muscles. Across the room on a workbench, a small droid beeps at her, and she greets the droid with a "Morning, Pip." And as she stands from bed and crosses the room, she picks up the droid, who is a similar size to a handheld video game. But the droid starts beeping frantically, and she tells the little bot to use its inside voice.
First of all, I love this droid. Secondly, is this a nod to Fallout?
I don't know.
Calling it Pip?
Maybe.
Is
Pip Boy?
Is it a nod when it's that soon?
I don't know.
When it was like 40 years ago. I think if it was last week, it's derivative.
Well, but again,
Anyway, it's cool. It's cute. It
Fallout
looks like a Game Boy.
predates the TV series. I mean,
It
the
sure
Game
does.
Boy
It sure does.
was
It sure does.
definitely part of the game series, and I that's sort of where I draw the comparison to.
Yeah. And it has that same color palette, actually. The blue.
Yeah, the pastels. I like this. I've never seen. It seems like every time we introduce a new droid, I don't want to say we're going backwards, but for example, we got BD1, who was who apparently is like all the functionality of an astromech, but in like 2/3 or 1/3 the size.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got Lola, who is essentially a pet, and now we have this sort of like this droid that's not really. It's a droid, but it's a tool.
Yes,
this is like the Swiss Army knife of droids.
Yes, it is.
It's because we're not going for droid cool functionality. We're going for how many action like plush things can we sell to your grandmothers. It's just they're trying to out cute. It feels like they're trying to out cute themselves.
I like the fact that this is a tool.
But
it's a smart tool. Can we call it that? I guess so. A smart tool.
It's a cell phone. She communicates with an attitude.
I'm going to go out and say that they were watching our review of the Bad Batch, and this is their answer to Gonky.
Oh, speaking of Gonkies, did you like?
There is a Gonky in the background.
Slick-looking power droid walking by there.
Yeah, they even call him an older version.
He looks pretty. Looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm. But inside the room, a red light flashes, coupled with a second alarm, and she tells the droid that it sounds like they have a job. And with that, she grabs her uniform and exits into the hallway. She walks past an older gonk droid and grabs a food stick from a vending machine on the wall. And another worker enters the hall and calls to her, "Osha, why didn't you come out last night? You missed a wild trip to Narshada with the piloting crew." And she tells the man, "Oh, yeah? What I do with my days off is none of your business, Philic." And side note here, Narshada, otherwise known as the Smuggler's Moon, is the largest moon planet of Nalhutta,
that's
world of the Hutt species.
Name drop.
Hutt. Hutt controlled world.
Seeing as that's located in Hutt space region of the Outer Rim territories, it's quite possible that we're still currently in that
region of space. Yeah.
You won't find those references in Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon.
TJC.
A good point, Gaz. My main issue was the vain Jedi steaming his uniform and the Padawan that seemed to be in charge.
We'll get there. But Philic questions are, no rest for the wicked. But Osha begins to tell him that the wicked rest, they just don't. And before she can finish, two Nemoidians stroll by, causing her to pause. And once past, she finishes, brag about it. She then asks Philic what the emergency is, and he tells her it's the shield generator, needs repairs. And Osha notes that the trade feds have never used their shields. And Philic notes, well, maybe that's why they need repairs. Later, a small portal opens on the surface of the ship, and Osha rises out wearing a spacesuit. She makes her way across the hull in a pair of magnetic boots and secures herself with a safety line. The camera remains fixed as the ship flies by, showing us its true size. And this one's for US. Our first ship here is named the Fallen.
The Fallen. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, the Fallen.
Fallen.
Like, is this a reference to Jimmy?
I don't know, maybe. But it is a hulking Nemoidian freighter held together by aging technology. Its commander is Captain Blex, and we found out this is a WD 25500 WIDA class yield conveyor, primarily used by the Trade Federation.
I find it interesting. First of all, Nemoidians, nice to see them back, by the way.
And they're still assholes.
Yeah. Secondly, the thing that I like here, and this was like, and it comes up later about what she does, and she says, what is it? She calls herself a mech neck,
which I think is just a take on mechanic.
But
what do you miss your mix flick? Get some vowels.
I like the analogy that, or the idea that, why use droids when you can use a human labor? That being said, are droids not cheaper than hiring a living sentient being to go out on your hull and do that kind of work? Because that is
not in a galaxy of hundreds of trillions.
Yeah,
no way.
But I could
buy labor's got to be cheaper.
But she's not a slave, though.
No, true. Slave wages.
I guess so. Presuming that she just lives on the ship, I guess.
Because like the Trade Federation, like what he says later, just shows their value for human life.
Right,
And
right.
You were saying,
and
Hank?
we've seen like a lot of people actually had a problem with her being like when they have droids to do this job, but we also see them living beings junking ships,
Oh,
not
that's true.
prisoners,
Yep,
like
yep. Breaking them up. Yep.
Fallen
Just
Order.
like your everyday.
Oh my God,
Cal Kestis.
Cal Kestis
His friend, yeah.
he's right, and they
He's
use it as
shipwrecked.
punishment in the New Republic. They put living beings in shipyards to break down. So I'm okay with that. Yeah, droids would be probably maybe cheaper. I don't know, but definitely like a less of a loss to life. She looked a little bit like she was out of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah,
A little bit.
I was okay with that though. I got it that this was
mean,
a utilitarian kind of
and
thing.
the capital ship was fairly decent here. I so far I'm not, I'm okay so far. I haven't lost my mind yet.
I will say this, and because it comes up quite a bit, the aesthetic is not so far away from what we know as to be unrecognizable. I feel like
Some of it is.
Granted, there are some exceptions, but for the most part, the costumes, the sets, the ships, the droids are all very Star Warsian. And I didn't feel like, to me, it feels like it fits in Star Wars. The visual style fits what we're supposed to be,
Yeah. Comment here from Joseph.
Joseph Ricci. Hello, Joseph. Nice to have you along. Hi, guys. How are you?
We're good.
I'm doing
Well.
all right. Having a good time. Back from a busy weekend, and just here in time to join the guys with our breakdown on the first 2 episodes of the Acolyte. Hope you're having a good weekend.
But back on the command deck, Captain Blax asks what's taking so long, and he demands that the shield be activated immediately. But one of the Nemoidian officers responds that the mechnics are on it. But he groans, noting that the grease scrubbers are disposable. Our cargo is not.
Grease scrubbers are disposable.
Yeah. So again, like, he doesn't give a crap about them. They're just.
Do we get an indication of what the cargo is?
No.
No, I guess it's not really important to the.
No, but he says it's important and they need their shields. But just then over the radio, Asha's voice rings through and says, we can hear you. And frankly, I'm hurt because Philic is clearly disposable. But me, on the other hand, come on. Philic snickers, and then he tells her that the emitter duct isn't connected by the field projector, and Osha sees it and removes Pip from her utility belt. So not only is Pip an alarm clock droid so far, he's also a welder. We will come to find that Pip is a multi-purpose handheld repair droid with a wide array of attachments.
Yeah.
And as Osha goes to work welding the shield generator, Filler tells her to wait as the pressure gauge is spiking, but it's too late. An explosion erupts nearby, causing a small fire, and Philic notes that it was the pressure valve and the gases bent from the pipe amidst a flame. Osha tells Philic she's got it as she steps closer with her magnetic boots, and she freezes a moment, fixed on the fire as some memories come flooding back, and we hear the echoes of the past. May, what are you doing? I won't let you leave. Mama, help me. And the subtitles here tell us that it is the voice of young Osha that is screaming for help.
Yeah.
But Pip starts
I guess the internet is going crazy over fire in space. I'm not so worried about it, except for that the flames seem to move in the wind.
True.
Other than that,
that is not a horse to beat. That is not a dead horse to beat. Where Star Wars,
it's not a dead horse. No, but I sort of pointing out what some of the other people are saying.
Yeah,
because
and it's worth bringing that up because that is what the show is up against. That is, whether that's contrived or not, that is what it's up against.
One of the funniest things I've seen is the opposite side sort of coming to the defense of fire in space and showing fire in space on the asteroid in Empire Strikes Back, and then the other side going that they're inside there's an atmosphere inside them, and it actually
inside the creature.
Tears of how fire works in space, and we're not in Star Trek, right? We're at space fantasy.
We are
still.
definitely, yeah.
So I will, because I think that when if we're concentrating on silly things like that, then we're going to miss some of the bigger things that
Listen,
Yeah.
let me just
yeah.
summarize this. Let me summarize this for everybody in just one phrase. And this is the one that I revert to every time these nitpicky, hair splitting, picking the fly shit out arguments come up. Listen, guys, fucking space wizards and laser swords.
Mhm.
That's what we're talking about here. So who
Mhm.
cares if there's a fire in space? Absolutely.
Oh, here's one from Joseph.
Joseph asks, do you guys think that perhaps they do things like that purposely to get people talking?
I have a conspiracy theory that
fire
I'm
in space,
not
yes.
ever going to talk about on air. But yes,
that'll make for a great after show for the three of us.
Yeah.
No, let's
it's not lost on me that Disney invented modern propaganda. So
Oh my God, Disney's brutal for
we'll take it in turn. Joseph raises a real question. He wants our opinion, so we should give him one. Andy, what do you think?
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility
That this is an intentional thing to get people talking.
Yeah. I mean, I know why they did it for the plot, because fire factors heavily into her origins.
Mhm. Yes.
And that gets us kind of seeing her reacting to it this early. But again,
the line of thinking follows this. It naturally follows that the other things that they've chose to do and are going to, well, we haven't seen the episodes yet, but the things that they're choosing to do could very well be on purpose. Like it's the Sex Pistols mentality. Any publicity is good publicity, especially bad publicity.
Yeah.
There's Doug can attest to this if he's still in the chat. He was telling me the other day, he works with a guy. He's been working with this guy for 6 months, and they talk every day, and they talk about their lives, and they talk about their hobbies and the things they like. And not once has this guy ever mentioned Star Wars. And he mentioned to Doug that he was excited about this new Acolyte show.
Really?
Because they're like, we've been trying to stay radio friendly, but for a solid month, they have had the largest, and I mean huge, campaign, like promotion campaign going, a really big one.
Yeah, I didn't really know that. I guess for me,
Gaz's comment is good.
With to go back to Joseph's question, I think in this case, this is the answer is yes. Where it serves the story, though, is certainly this specific case, and I don't think this ties in with what I said before. Like, nobody sets out to make something that is crap.
No.
And I said this to you, Hank. Even Ryan Johnson, who was openly subversive, who said he was going to subvert us, didn't set out to make a trash fire. He did not set out to do that.
Not a good. Okay, hot take on Ryan Johnson real quick. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. It was well acted. The sets were excellent. The costumes were excellent. The effects were excellent. Did I agree with the choices he had people I loved make? No, and it's not my story to make that. We haven't got to those parts yet, but this ostensibly has poor writing, poor costumes, poor acting, poor sets, poor editing, and sorry.
I guess
I just don't think that comparing it, like Ryan Johnson has redeemable qualities. I know that people are mad about the decisions he made story wise, but you can't argue with the quality of the stuff. And I think objectively that, or it could be subjective. It could very well be. I don't think the quality of this is anywhere close to the quality of all the shows we've gotten so far.
I agree with you. Like it's comparing, we're comparing apples to oranges, really. Yes, it's all Star Wars, but like we have different teams of different people making different products. Yeah. I'm really trying to stay to Joseph's question. Yes, there are occasions where creatives will insert something because they know that it will get people talking. Do I think they do that specifically to enrage a fan base? I don't believe that. I don't think so. Yeah. But here we are. You have asked, and now we are talking about it. So proof positive. Yep. Yes, this happens.
Stay tuned for the after show, kids.
Oh no, Gaz. Wait, people are complaining about a fire in space? It's a TV show. But just a side note, there is also no sound in space either. I don't know about that, man. I hear every TIE fighter, and I love it.
The new alien tag. The new alien. No one can hear you They just drop
They
it.
just cut away.
Drop the audio. Yeah. But Pip starts beeping and Philip tells her to quit messing around, snapping her back to reality. And this time Pip acts as a fire extinguisher, dousing the flames. And with the fire dealt with, she looks up to the sight of an X-Wing type ship dropping out of hyperspace and circling the freighter.
Sorry, I know I'm the only one of the three of us that have seen it. This gave me Resistance vibes.
Yeah.
This ship design.
Well, our ship here is a Jedi Vector. It is a sleek, cutting-edge starfighter, custom built for the Jedi Order. And according to the Star Wars databank, the Vector requires advanced skills and mastery of the Force to operate at top performance.
It's a cool looking
in
design. What's that, Hank?
They are in the comics.
Oh, they are. This
Vectors,
is awesome. To me, it looks very much like a play on the ARC 170 with that, like the way the nose of it is shaped.
Mm-hmm. On the command deck, the deck officer takes note of the circling ship and declares, "Jedi?" Commander Blex lets out a groan, and on the surface of the ship, Philip questions, "Friends of yours?" And we cut to inside the ship as the command deck door opens and two Jedi enter. Captain Blex asks what do they owe the pleasure of Jedi presence on their humble ship. And the taller Jedi introduces himself as Yord Fandar, Knight of the Jedi Order. The shorter one is his Padawan, Tassiloa, and he informs the captain that they are looking for a former Jedi named Osha Anasea. The captain tells him that this is a cargo ship and they have no passengers. But Yord retorts that she's a mechanic and freelance outer ship repair, and she bunks ship to ship. The captain counters, "Why would we have mechanics here? The Republic has legislated that only droids may perform outer ship repair." And done playing, Yord steps forward to execute the Jedi mind trick, but the deck officer steps in, blurting out, "Sub-level, bunk 23.
Let's just get it over with so they get out of here.
Yeah. Yord thanks them for the cooperation and they exit the bridge. Note here, Yord's Padawan Tassiloa is a Zygerian, a species first introduced in the late 80s, but brought to screen via animation in the Clone Wars series.
Weird that, since they're at war, open war with the Jedi. So there's an interesting thing that could be happening here. She's not the only Zygerian Jedi in the High Republic, but it's suggested in the novels and the comics that and we're always saying that the Jedi might be up to something shady here. They just won a war on that planet to break the slave trade and to like subjugate the planet. They like not subjugate, I guess, liberate all the races that were being. So there's sort of like an underwritten idea that these are not the voluntary children of parents. These are like you liberate, more like the we killed her parents and now there's a baby laying there.
So we better do something about it.
So we better do something about it. So it's like very dark almost. Like it's like this is almost for me like seeing a bunch of Wookiees with a Trandoshan companion. There's this is very, very interesting to me in terms of like Star Wars lore. Because if you read about the history of the Zygerians and the Jedi, especially in Legends, and the Zygerians go back to the 87 West End game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. I found it interesting in this scene that, and this is the first indication, and this comes up a few more times over the course of the two episodes. He was going to either Kylo Ren mind screw or mind trick it out of him. Yeah. And I'm thinking, oh, that's kind of, that's walking a line.
Yeah. There's definitely a few.
I also thought it was cool because I didn't know that rubies made Zygerian masks.
Listen, I'm gonna put this out there right now. I'm gonna put this out there right now. Especially if you are over the age of 40, as we all are. We came up in the era of like Star Trek and TNG, where like bad costumes and worse face prosthetics were the order of the day. So this, to me, there is nothing wrong with what's going on here. I think we're just holding
40
it
years beyond that with our.
I know, and that's the thing is you can't unsee what you've already seen.
Yeah.
So, but again, we live in a golden age of genre television where we are being spoon-fed things of theatrical quality that in our youth, and this is another conversation you and I had, Hank.
Yep.
10-year-old us would never have or would not have a lot of the criticisms that we have of the show right now.
I find it confounding that this has twice the budget of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Confounding.
Well, there is that.
What's Gaz saying
There
here?
is that. It looks kind of like Hawk's ship from Buck Rogers.
Bingo! It does.
Buck Rogers, yeah.
It does.
Season two of Buck Rogers.
Nice.
The questionable season.
Bird
Let's
person.
make it more like Star Trek. we're gonna take it off world. We're gonna put it on a ship, and we're gonna make it a wagon train in space.
That's what's considered in bird culture a dick move.
Well done.
But back here on sub-level, Osha returns to her room and touches a console to open the door. And as the door slides open, a smile crosses her face at the sight of her old friend Yord. She gives a laugh as Yord stands to greet her, and giving him a once-over, she notes, "You've finally passed your trials." He responds that he made Knight 2 years prior. And Osha chuckles that she never thought she'd see the day and gives him a playful shot in the shoulder. But Yord notes that he never thought he would see her again. And they kind of gaze at each other a moment here before he looks away. So I don't know if there's like a past.
If they had something
Thing?
prior to?
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting question. I don't know.
But Yord tells her that Corpsec is about as far away from Coruscant as you can get.
I like that. We're in the corporate sector.
Yep.
We've been there before.
From the
And,
Tarkin novel.
But we've also been there in Andor.
Mhm.
Yeah.
A good chunk of Andor was in the corporate sector.
Osha turns to her workbench and questions why he has come, and then asks if he just wanted to pay his old friend a visit. She moves to unholster Pip and place him in his charging dock. But at the sight of this, Yord moves for his lightsaber, clearly on edge. And upset with this reaction, Osha, she removes Pip anyway and places him on the base, turning back to face the Jedi. She questions, "What's going on, Yord?" And Yord sighs, and his Padawan Tassiloa enters the room with a data pad. And he tells her it's best if she takes a seat, which she does. What's Gaz saying here?
Wait, this had twice the budget of Obi-Wan? What did they use the money on? That Matrix lady? Just joking.
I said
Maybe.
that in the chat. Yeah. I did say that in the chat.
But Tassie asks her how long she's been a mechanic. And Osha tells her since she left the order, so 6 years. Tassie notes that it's a dangerous job, but Osha says it's got its perks. And Osha tells her that she was trained to be a Jedi, but when it didn't pan out, those skills weren't exactly transferable, and she needed a paycheck. Tassie then asks when she would join the order, and Osha replies that when she was 8, but Yord already knows all this. And Tassie goes on that a major concern about admitting her to the order was her age.
Yeah.
And Yord
To begin the training.
Yeah, Yord interjects the fact that she was also mourning. And Osha admits that her circumstances were unique, but the Jedi Council made their decision, and Yord notes that she just lost her entire family. Her mother's, her sister, her entire village died in a fire before Master Soul brought her to the Jedi. And he continues that her training was difficult, to say the least.
So this begins a common theme where the characters are telling each other stuff they already know for the sake of the audience, which is like, and I have more on it in my episode too, but which is like writing 101. You show stuff, you don't tell it. The show starts, and it really starts now to just tell you stuff without really showing you much. I know. Yeah. And I mean, I have a theory about the clunky editing that I think that it might be on purpose because of what I said earlier about the Fight Club thing.
Yep.
Like they might have had it. Maybe some of it's on purpose, but I really found that a lot of the dialogue in this was wooden exposition, especially characters telling other characters that already know what they're talking about. It's like, how often do you and I go, Wes? Remember that time that we did a podcast 15 minutes ago?
You mean the one about the Acolyte?
How long have you been doing this podcast?
That one. So, and it didn't bug me the first time. It was like the rewatch when I went, oh, okay, well, there, I see it there. And I see it a lot. And I understand that it's the easiest way to get the audience to understand what you're doing. Yeah. But it's lazy writing.
I can get behind that in that specific instance. Yeah, I can get behind that.
Gaz has got a question.
Question: who is the Jedi Master in this scene?
I say
Answer: no one.
one.
No
Yeah,
one.
we
There is a
have
Jedi Knight, and
Jedi
once
Knight Yord Fandon and his Padawan.
Yep. Once you are knighted, you are permitted to take a Padawan, so you don't have to be a master.
But in terms of who's in charge, Yord is
Oh,
the
who's in
senior
charge?
member of-
Yeah,
yeah,
Yord.
yeah.
Yord.
Is that what you're getting at, guys?
Maybe. Gaz says, obviously the money was spent on high caliber actors and actresses.
And Joseph asks, did you say mothers?
I did indeed.
Plural. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the line of dialogue. Mothers, plural.
Check
Yes,
double twice
yes.
with the
Yeah, mothers, plural.
but Yord tells her that attachments to those we have lost are the most difficult to let go. And again, Osha asks why they're here. But Tassiloa tells her that the previous night a Jedi was murdered on Udea. And Osha questions who. And Yord tells her that it was Master Indara. And Tassi then asks her, and says the suspect matched your description. Osha asks them, you think I killed her? But coldly, Tassi asks where she was last night. And Osha tells them that she was on the freighter in this room. Why would she kill Indara? But Yord interjects that if he recalls correctly, it was Master Indara who advised the council to discontinue her training but Osha cuts him off, citing that leaving the Jedi Order was the hardest thing she's ever done. But it was her decision, no one else's. And this catches Yord off guard. Tassi looks to him and he nods for her to step out of the room. Osha stands and asks if he really thinks she's capable of betraying the Order, overpowering a Jedi Master and murdering her. But just then the door opens again, and Kabak, the bar owner, enters, barking, "That's her! She killed the Jedi and ruined my bar!" Osha looks back to Yord, but he doesn't say it. She looks back to Yord, but he says it doesn't matter what he thinks. So before we go too much further,
I was surprised that they brought the witness with them.
yeah, like
That's very strange. And also the witness was able to give a description so good that they were able to
narrow it down out of how many thousand Jedi?
We know who that is.
This is the thing they failed to show or tell.
Yeah.
Except by to bring the witness in. And the witness is the plot device to tell you this is how we know who this is.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing that her eye makeup and hairstyle haven't changed.
Yeah, but the tattoo.
True. Absolutely true. Yeah. Oh yes, no tattoo and her shorter.
Yeah. What's Gaz saying here?
Gaz, that's correct. Who's the one in charge? Because I find that the knight acts more like a Padawan than the Padawan does.
More than once.
He does come off a little I don't even know what the word is. Sometimes a little passive,
like a mannequin,
cocky. Yeah, a little bit.
Well, funny
mannequin
you say that
Skywalker, maybe.
Funny you say that because I would look at the pairing of those two, and I would almost say, "There's your makeshift Anakin and Ahsoka." Or
I don't want to telegraph that onto another pair.
I know you don't want to, but I think they might. But anyway.
Oh, Wes, you weren't the only one surprised that the witness came along. No, I don't think so. No, it just seemed like a strange thing for the police to do.
It's just it's a super easy.
Show them a hollow puck.
I know. Hollow image. Here you go.
Yeah.
It's LA Law style, like quality of writing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that won Emmys though, so maybe I should recant that.
Maybe.
But before we go too much further, let's check on our players again.
Oh, sure, yeah.
In the role of Philip, we have Anthony J. Abraham.
I think you missed a slide.
I think I missed a slide too.
That's okay.
Oops. So this is our barking one here.
Yes. That's him.
Yeah.
That's her.
Oops. Anyway. But yeah, there's Anthony J. Abraham. You may know him from his previous roles, like on the show Jack Ryan, where he played James Greer Jr.
Okay.
Our Jedi Knight, Yord Fandar, is played by Charlie Barnett, and you might know him from his previous roles, including John Diggle Jr. on The Arrow Show.
Oh, yeah.
And
right.
Peter Mills.
That's why it feels like a CW show.
Because we got a CW actor.
Yeah. He was also on Chicago PD as well. I guess Chicago Fire was like for a super long run.
Right.
Our Padawan here, though, Tassiloa, is played by Thara Shun. And this is her first major role. She's been in a couple of short films, but
good for her.
Yeah,
good for her.
What's Gaz saying here?
Gaz says that night totally reverts back to a Padawan when Saul enters the show.
100%.
But again, contextually speaking, we are at a point in galactic history where I would suspect that the Jedi don't meet much opposition when it comes to their police work. And so, I mean, how tested is this guy really?
Yeah.
He's brand new. And then I would think that it's also like very similar to the military, where you don't have to even respect the person, but if they outrank you, you revert to a lower rank,
absolutely.
even if you are somebody who commands people.
Yeah.
You know, like normally you would get the
Commander of
respect of a
legions.
captain, but when you're in the presence of a general, you're a peon, and that's the way you react. You know, like,
But
you know what I
even
mean?
in the rise of the Empire, the Jedi Masters all sort of are subservient to the Jedi High Council.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there is a pecking order within the order.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that makes sense to me.
But we catch up with them in the hallway. Osha now in binders, and Tassie Loa powers down Pip and tells Osha that she's been identified, and a prisoner transport will take her back to Coruscant. They're met by a maroon armored warden droid, and Osha tells Yord that you're making a mistake. But the droid takes Osha's belongings, and as the airlock behind him opens, Osha complies and follows the droid into the prison transport ship. We get an external shot of the ship from space, and we see that the transport does disengage from the underside of the freighter, and it flies forward a short distance before making the jump to hyperspace.
This one threw me off guard a bit, because our Jedi and the Witness show up in the Jedi's ship.
Yep.
And then now there's another.
Yeah, like a prison ship.
Is there
Maybe
some
on like a prison route and
passage of time, and now like
I would think so.
Right. The editing wasn't very clear on that. And then why don't another, like, you know, we brought the Witness. Why don't they accompany the prisoner?
Why don't they just bring her in directly?
She's not even like, I'll go with you. She's not putting up a fight at all. There's no, so just hop in the back seat. Okay, we'll put binders on her.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably a precaution.
The Jedi don't accompany her.
I think the binder
even on the
thing is
big ship,
because she's got, you know, some Jedi training, and that makes her
absolutely.
Well,
somewhat
she's got
dangerous.
10 years worth of training.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because she's left the order 6 years prior, and you know, he says later on that he found her 16 years ago. So.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a small thing, but it was enough to make me pause and go, "What's going on here?" But again,
I was surprised that the droid didn't say "Danger, Will Robinson."
I was more surprised by the droid's interconnecting pants.
What?
In there, the joining, you can clearly see it's black fabric.
Oh yeah,
and it's funny because I just watched or rewatched RoboCop 3 there last week.
Oh my god,
it's quite visible on that as well.
But that's anyway, the Frank Miller written one too.
Yeah, RoboCop flies. But our prison transport here is the Palwick prison ship. It's equipped with droid pilots. It's a Kazalian Corporation DTE CSA-17 caboose or Calaboose prison ship.
Kazelin Corporation. I'm not familiar with that company.
Yeah, so I think this one might be a new one.
I believe that is a new name.
That is straight out of the Star Wars databank.
And maybe because it was moving around so much and I couldn't get a clear shot of it. That's why the CGI seemed hokey on it to me. But even that shot there, maybe my eyes are bad.
Yeah,
but
I had to zoom up on it.
It looks, yeah, maybe that's just it. It's just moving.
But from there, we shift locations to the still under construction Jedi Temple on Coruscant. And inside, we find a group of younglings, including a Tarsant, in the middle of a lesson from Jedi Master Soul. He instructs them to close their eyes, and as your eyes can deceive you, we must not trust them. He tells them to connect to the Force, have faith, think of diving into a great ocean, and to give themselves over to its weight, its stillness, and its uncertainty.
I love this line. I love the line, don't trust your eyes, they can deceive you, because Star Wars being cyclical and poetic, that reminds us that every Jedi, even here 200 years ago, have studied under Master Yoda. It's the same line from Attack of the Clones when Obi-Wan.
It's in the books.
Yeah.
It's really funny that one of the aliens they pan by has no eyelids, though.
close your nictitating membranes. I don't know.
Unfortunate for that character.
You just duck your head between your knees.
He then asks what comes into their minds, and just then a green-skinned Merlon, Jedi Master Vernestra Rao, opens the door with the Force and enters the room silently. Master Soul bows to her, and one of the younglings calls out balance, another life, and another still tells him that she sees fire. It grows larger and consumes anything that tries to stop it. And Master Soul relays that the Force is powerful, like fire or the ocean. It is a power they must respect. And he then dismisses the class, telling them it's time for lunch. Oh, what's this?
He also has the wrong lightsaber. Yellow. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yellow sabers meant that the Jedi is a sentinel, and the guy and the guy acts like a guardian. So those terms aren't really used anymore. And those hard fast rules to color, they also aren't really used anymore.
There's some of it's been brought back in the High Republic, but I don't think the color matches the
Jedi Temple Guards did use yellow blades. It was definitely a symbol for them, but there's the idea that there are three, like the Jedi Guardian versus Jedi Consular versus Jedi Sentinel. Those concepts are a lot more blurred now.
That's also just I mean, initially it's fan service. It's literally because we all remember the early comic. Maybe some of us don't, but we all remember the early action figure and the mistakes that were made. And so they were just like, as a nostalgia point, they decided to give Rey a yellow lightsaber, and they canonized a yellow lightsaber for Luke in the comics. And then they went, okay, so it seems silly that we have only 2 of this color and 55 of all ever, or 100,000 of every other color. So they just kind of normalized it in the High Republic. I mean, it's coming. You're going to see like a Geonosis level of lightsabers at some point, probably.
I read a thing today, actually, talking about lightsabers that made a comparison between Vernestra and Mace Windu. It was a headline that said that although Yoda was the Grand Master of the Jedi Order, that Mace Windu was the Battle Master of the Order, and that he has a purple lightsaber, and that Vernestra Rao, coincidentally, also will be wielding a purple lightsaber.
A purple lightsaber.
A purple lightsaber whip.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yes,
I think
we'll get there. Not in these 2 episodes.
No,
I think it's blue in the comics, but she also has something in common with Igor from the hilarious House of Frightenstein, and that's the makeup that they're both wearing.
You really think it's that bad, huh?
Boy. Anyway, we're having fun, man.
We are having fun.
But as the younglings file out, they bow to the visiting master, and Master Soul bows and greets her as well.
Now. No, you can't.
Master Vernestra, and she lowers her hood, revealing her tattooed head, and returns his greeting. Soul, my dear friend. She remarks how lucky these younglings are to have such a compassionate teacher, but Soul counters that he is the fortunate one to be taught by them. Vernestra notes that she remembers when Soul was that small and how shy he was. Soul asks how he can be of service, but she tells him that she has news, and she questions, you and Master Indara were friends? And Soul sadly responds, yes. He was sad to hear about her coming to a violent death, and Vernestra tells him that they have a suspect in custody, an old Padawan of his, Osha Anasea. What's Joseph saying here?
Joseph says, I found this scene interesting that after Vernestra walked in, the girl said fire. It was well timed, and I'm not sure why. I almost felt like because of Master Soul's answer was that the fire as a primordial force,
force of nature.
But like I immediately, when she said fire, I immediately went to burning, evil. That this is is this temptation? What is this? Could be nothing.
I was completely misdirected by this scene because this scene was in the trailer. And racistly, I assumed that the young black girl was our character.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She's the one that, everybody else is talking about. I see butterflies. I see blood raining from the sky. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
There's our problem child.
It could be like maybe this kid is now sensing that the Sith are coming. They are the fire that will consume anything that tries to stop
Maybe,
them.
yeah.
Maybe, but what's Gaz saying?
Oh, Gaz. Okay, cool. Color system is out the door. Well, then, I want a cranberry grape lightsaber.
It's yours, man. That will also
Yours.
help with your urinary tract.
Just you got to use it 3 times a day.
Yep.
Joseph says, I also noticed that Vernestra had a tattoo on her head and marks below her eyes. Yeah, she is a Mirialan, same species as
Luminari Unduli.
Barris and Luminara Unduli.
And Kirk's girlfriend from the original series.
Come on.
Yeah. But a look of shock comes over Soul's face, and she tells him that she sees that she's underestimated his attachment to her. And Soul relays that Asha was a devoted Padawan, and he sees no reason for her to kill Indara. Vernestra cites that the evidence against her is strong. So Saul tells Vern that he and Indara had saved Osha from a terrible fire on Brendok. And Vern remembers. Soul notes that Asha saw them as her protectors, and he posits that there must be some kind of mistake. Just as another Jedi enters the room, Vernestra steps closer and tells Soul that if it were to become public that a former Jedi killed one of their own, he finishes that their political enemies could use it against them. And Vern tells him that discretion is important. Our justice swift and an example made. She then asks, despite your feelings for this girl, do I have your support in this endeavor? He hesitates a moment and then bows and tells her, of course, Master Vernestra. She exits the room, leaving Soul alone with his thoughts.
This is another example of that, 2 characters telling each other stuff they know intimately for the audience's sake.
Yeah.
I don't I'm not an expert either. Like, I write my own stuff, and sometimes it amuses me, and sometimes I share it and it amuses you guys. But I don't know how I would have done that differently, but it feels like it just feels like, and maybe it's because there's a big flashback scene coming in the episodes to come that we're almost certain is going to happen. And there's a little bit of a flashback scene coming up in this episode, but maybe all of this could have been served better by having the flashback scene at the beginning to give it context. Then you wouldn't need these lines of dialogue that seem awkward to me.
Joseph has one here, which I kind of agree with.
Interesting question. Who would be the political enemies at this time?
Yeah. So
I found that funny.
There's a faction out there called the Nihil, and they're like essentially pirates, but they're like they took the Jedi 100 years before this. They took the Jedi to task. Like they had secret means of the weird thing about the recanonization of the you can't even call it the Old Republic, because you're talking 10,000 years before these eras. But the weird thing is that like hyperspace routes haven't been perfected yet in this era. So these Nihil pirates had learned a new way of traveling through hyperspace, and we were able to ambush and able to like dart in and out without using traditional hyperspace routes or droids or math that they could. So there's factions out there. There's also like, the Nemoidians haven't changed. There's still a trade federation. There's still a
So I mean, like,
there's still a banking clan. All these institutions are still in place.
Yeah, we've just had two
on Earth
in this episode.
We still, 100 years isn't that vast. We still have the same systems in place. What's awkward is that if there's anything that the Jedi go through in this, what's really telling is that they haven't learned a damn thing by the time of the Phantom Menace.
Well, the one thing we don't have is we don't have a confederacy. We don't have a splinter group. But we do definitely.
I mean, that we know of. But I mean, there definitely could be people opposed to this idea.
To the Republic, we do.
In
have
fact, enough that there's like a pirate syndicate that citizens join without any force ability, without any, and they rely upon technology and craftiness to fight the Jedi.
For sure, the Trade Federation exists as its own governing entity, and so does the corporate sector, which is essentially governed by a conglomerate of corporations.
And the banking clan was, as corrupt as ever. And you got to figure that at least, a couple of percentages of senators are on the take for this or that. Like corruption
Yeah,
just
yeah.
doesn't go away,
No.
especially at the high watermark of a government. It might be worse, in fact.
Yeah, maybe. Guess the Senate, I'm guessing, as the political enemy.
Definitely members of it.
Possible, yeah. I mean, politicians. I mean, who isn't? There's got to be somebody out there for their own gain.
Mm-hmm. Follow up here.
Joseph says, would these inconsistencies be regarded as Easter eggs?
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Like an Easter egg to me is something like a throwback or a thing that makes you go, that Leonardo DiCaprio meme. Oh, they
yeah, that
just
one.
said, like arguably the
The
best
thing-
Easter egg out of both episodes happens at the very end of my episode. And it's the one thing in both episodes that made me go, oh, I haven't seen that before. Very cool. I have to take a powder room break, fellas. Keep going without me.
That's all
Probably
good.
2 seconds.
Yes, man. Okay.
Yeah. So while you're out, we'll talk about this. Playing our Jedi Masters here are Lee Jung-jae as Master Soul and Canadian actress Rebecca Henderson as Jedi Master Vanessa Rao.
Oh, okay.
You may know Lee Jung-jae from his work on Squid Game.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Squid Game.
And you might recognize Rebecca Henderson from her work on the TV series Single Drunk Female, Russian Doll, and The Accidental Wolf.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
I read a cool thing about Lee this week that said he was such a fan of the Qui-Gon Jinn character that he's tried to bring some of that to Master Soul. Also, that he learned English in 4 months in order to play this role.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not saying that he has a great comprehension of it, but I mean, learning enough that you can read your script to pronounce the words and to have that come across as
he comes across as like a wise old master.
Yeah. Like I totally buy it that he's speaking English, and I didn't. I mean, sure, obviously English is a second language, but still,
yeah.
None of that comes across as being like awkward to me.
No. Another fun fact here about Rebecca. Her spouse is series writer, director, creator, producer Leslie Headland.
Oh, I had no idea. Oh, that's cool. Okay, very cool.
Yeah. And just to clarify, this is not the first appearance of Jedi Master Vanessa Rao. She's first mentioned in the Claudia Gary novel, Star Wars: The High Republic Into the Dark. And her first full appearance is in the Charles Soule novel, Star Wars: The High Republic Light of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not 100% here because I haven't read them, but we should note, however, that the Star Wars databank entry credits her first appearance as Star Wars: The High Republic, A Test of Courage.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
she's
which is correct, but
we watch her grow up. She's I think she starts out as a Padawan, and we watch her grow up in the High Republic stuff.
Yeah.
Sure is.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes,
it is.
Stay tuned.
But we cut to the bridge of the prison ship where where we find 2 flat-headed pilots navigating the Palwick ship through hyperspace.
I love the design of these guys.
Oh my god,
my first thought was the torture droid from Jabba's palace. It has the heads just remind me of that. But when they fold down and like,
they just became seats.
They're the seats of the ship.
Yep.
Clever. Very clever.
Yeah. But
what do you think the purpose of having living looking be like, like physical looking pilots, when clearly now we understand the technology exists to just have the droids in the ship, like the droid be the ship. Just
100 years
it's
prior,
cool
maybe
looking.
it wasn't fully developed.
It is cool looking.
Yeah.
I mean, augmentation, I would say. I mean,
maybe, and we're still like we anthropomorphize everything, so maybe that's
true. That's
indicative of that. Maybe
the same could be said of any starfighter that uses an astromech droid.
Mm-hmm.
They're 100% capable of operating the ship without a human or biological input.
Well, yeah, like was R5 flew off to get Grogu?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But like here, I liken this to the autopilot out of Men in Black, where he comes out of the steering wheel and he just absorbs back into the vehicle.
Or the blow up doll from Airplane.
Yes. Yes.
The autopilot.
But wielding a stun baton, the warden droid turns to make his rounds, and we find Osha in the middle cell as the droid stomps by. She looks at her surroundings, and in the next cell to her, she sees a convict lying on a bench with some sort of starfish-type parasite covering his mouth. And a convict in the cell on the other side adjoining hers calls out, "It's a Dybbuk." And OSHA looks to them and says, "Excuse me?" And the convict with the face tattoo tells her, "It's a parasite used to subdue violent criminals." OSHA is taken aback by this and asks, "Does it hurt him?" But the convict assures her that he's having a great time. And the alien convict interjects that it does weird stuff to your brain. But the convict with the tattoo on his face then asks if it's true that she killed a Jedi, and she bluntly responds, "No." The alien convict then tells her that they're planning an escape and asks if she wants in. She questions to where. "We're traveling through hyperspace." And Convict 1 tells her that the ship is piloted by droids. They're going to take them out and use the escape pods. And she tells them that though she applauds their enthusiasm, that plan could kill them all. But the convict then questions if she'd rather leave her fate to the Jedi, and OSHA confidently responds yes. She has faith in the Jedi. And then the alien convict laughs at her and tells her to enjoy prison.
Interesting. Somebody who couldn't make their way within the system still believes in it.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. But convict number 1 gives a signal to a cyborg convict in the cell with the subdued convict, and a panel on. Yeah.
I thought the prosthetics reminded me of the
Robot.
Well, a little bit of Lobot, but also the singer on Dryden Voss's ship.
Mm.
And
also the head of the Krang
Dengar, the redo of Dengar.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. The Force Awakens.
Dengar, yeah. Rothgar Deng or whatever they.
Yeah. No, that's it. Yeah, that is it.
Mm-hmm.
But a panel on the cyborg's face flashes a pattern, and whatever signal the cyborg sent causes the droids to react, and they fold into themselves, just becoming pilot seats.
Yeah, folding back into chairs.
Yeah. The ship drops out of hyperspace into an asteroid field. Seen that one before. And it begins to crash into some, and the prisoners are tossed about in their cells as the ship collides with various asteroids. The alien convict unfurls a hidden tentacle on his head, and as the warden droid passes the cell to investigate, the tentacle snatches the droid, slamming him against the cell wall.
I want to know what environmental adaptation this is for.
Yeah.
What bipedals with a tentacle, just one tentacle? What is that thing for?
But the alien squeezes his tentacle, popping the droid's head off in a violent shower of sparks. The alien then uses his tentacle to tear off the droid's arm and uses it to open the door to the cell. The prisoners quickly scurry out. Well, what's Gaz saying?
So my question here is the imprisoned, that cyborg with hacking skills without restraining it, but do so with the violent prisoner. Odd.
Yep. You'd think they'd slap a restraining bolt on him, or how it works.
I would have thought,
like
yeah.
that, yeah.
That'll happen when you don't put any Jedi guards on the ship carrying dangerous prisoners. One being a Jedi killer.
Yep. Most of the escapees run to the escape pod, but convict number 1 grabs the droid arm and unlocks the cell with his cyborg accomplice. As he rushes past OSHA's cell, she asks if he can give her a hand, but he waves the droid armor, laughing at her, shouting, "Bye-bye, Jedi killer!" before rushing off to the escape pod, laughing as the door closes. As the escape pod launches, the momentum pushes the Palwick back into another asteroid, and the collision causes the storage compartment to come open and its contents spill all over the floor, including the deactivated Pip. OSHA tries frantically to reach the droid as it slides across the floor, but it remains out of reach. A jolt sends Pip sliding further away, and she calms herself and tries to reach out using the Force to draw the droid to her, but to no avail, and she slams her hand on the door in frustration. But as luck would have it, the ship jolts again, and the little droid slides right to the door. So she grabs him and activates him, and then uses a plasma tool setting to pick the lock of the cell, and the door slides open.
Wait. Pulls his head off.
Yeah.
And turns it into a new tool.
Yeah. Multi-tool.
He's also a Zippo.
Right. Now free, she makes for the escape pod, but stops. And she looks back at the unconscious convict on the floor, and she rushes in desperately to try and save the guy, lifting him, but he's too heavy. Pip beeps, and instead of she just picks Pip up and uses him to shock the parasite attached to his face.
Also a taser.
Also a taser. It leaps off its host and flies up into the vents above, disappearing into the ship. So, bye, little starfish. With the parasite gone, the convict springs up violently, gasping and shouting, shoving Asha to the side and rushing out of the cell towards the escape pod. She jumps
Looks like
to her
he's
feet
wearing
in
like a
pursuit.
Wookiee pelt, maybe.
I was going to say
like,
that.
He's got fur or something on him.
It's like he's got a cheap Chewbacca costume without the
Uh-oh.
mask.
Uh-oh. Yeah, but so did you know what it reminds me of then? It reminds me of original Jabba.
Yes.
Original Jabba in his Freddy Flintstone outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she jumps to her feet in pursuit, but the convict has already shut the door, leaving Asha pounding on the door, screaming in frustration. We see the final escape pod jettison as the ship is now on a course tumbling towards a bright white planet. And inside, Osha rushes to the bridge where she finds the controls on fire in the front of the disabled pilots. Out of options, she spots a bundle of cargo and quickly unstraps it, tossing it aside. She then seats herself behind and begins to strap herself down. And from the exterior, we see the ship is spinning aimlessly towards the snowy planet below. Some components begin to tear off as they enter the atmosphere. And inside, Asha struggles with one strap, but manages to get it clicked in place, and she pulls a second strap across her other shoulder and secures Pip in his cushioned pouch on her belt. Raising her hands beside her head, she then braces for the impending impact. And as the ship nears the surface, a trail of black smoke follows it, and it crashes down on the snow-covered rocky surface, sections breaking off as it skids across the terrain. More of the ship continues to break off and roll away as the prison transport finally comes to rest in a snowy bank. And as the dust and snow settle, we cut back to Coruscant.
Yay! Plane crash. Oh, well.
Yeah, see ya.
Free fall from orbit.
And it's still mainly
Free fall.
intact.
Free fall from orbit. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
all right.
It was aerodynamic enough to glide.
Okay.
Space wizards and laser swords.
Yep. I get it.
Gaz says, I'm so glad that she was unable to use her force abilities, but then miffed about how many things the little droid can do. Oh, I like that the droids can do all that stuff.
He's like a Swiss Army droid.
I do like that. I like that stuff.
Swiss Army droid. That's wicked. That is wicked.
On Coruscant, inside an empty conference room of the the Jedi Temple, we find Master Soul looking at a holopuck of a young Osha with her Padawan braid. He shuts it off as a short Jedi enters the room, and he questions, "What is it, Jackie?" She bows and apologizes for disturbing him and informs him that Vernestra Rao requests his presence at the detainment level, and he turns to leave, citing that he mustn't keep her waiting. Jackie begins to ask, "Why do you?" But then she asks for permission to speak freely, and he tells her she may. She then asks why he keeps old hollows of his former Padawan, noting that pastime encourages sentimentality and nostalgia, and how both of these emotions can lead to. But before she can conclude, Soul interjects that memories are lessons, and if you don't meditate on the past, with a smile, she finishes, "We're doomed to repeat it." Saul nods, and they exit together.
She's like the, you know what it's like when you go to school, you get the kids that are like book smart.
Yes.
That's her. She's like really, really book smart.
Like really to the letter. And
yeah. The book says this. And, it'd be hard to sway her otherwise.
Yeah. But side note here, Master Soul's Padawan, Jackie Lawn, is a Thelian human hybrid. It was a dream of the series creator Leslie Headland to create a Thelian Jedi, having loved the character of Ristal Sant from the 1997 special edition of Return of the Jedi.
Do we have a shot of her? We don't have a shot of her, do we?
No.
So she's a brightly orange-skinned dancer that was one of the new characters for the musical sequence in Jabba's palace.
Yeah.
She actually has the exact same pattern of tattoos. She's got a white face with bright red hair.
See if I can just
which I honestly made me recant. I was calling this character Neelix before. And then I saw that and I went, "No, okay, that's okay. It's not as Neelix as I thought."
Let me see if see if I can turn the brightness down. Then the camera might pick this up.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's her.
Yeah.
So that's what
Ronald McDonald.
But down on the detainment level, behind a ray shield, the now recaptured convicts yell out that it wasn't their idea. It was the Jedi killer that orchestrated the whole thing. And
Did they
Vernestra,
announce like your crime when you're brought on board a prison ship? Jedi killer
know.
coming through.
maybe.
Dead man walking.
Because it does
What
make you
did
wonder,
you do
like,
to
how
get
the
in
hell did
here?
you know that?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that this was played for comedy, but I did like, oh, they got them anyway.
Yeah, like,
I like
oh yeah,
that.
we just tracked your pods. You're good. But Vernestra informs Saul that it was a prison mutiny and the transport went down over Karlak. He asks about Osha, but she was not among the survivors. And the formerly restrained convict mutters in his cell that the Jedi killer is evil and how he sensed her darkness. Saul approaches and deactivates the ray shield, and he enters, and the convict steps forward, telling him to beware. But Saul, with a force assist, tells the convict to quiet his mind and tell him what happened to the young woman. Calmly, the convict relays that she helped him, and he betrayed her by taking the last escape pod.
What a creative use of the Jedi mind trick to quiet someone's mind, to help them do that.
Like, stop being crazy, shut up.
Yeah,
and tell me
yeah,
what
yeah.
happened.
Makes me wonder if there's a whole division of force using therapists out there.
Could be. But Saul, he turns to Vernestra, and she reminds him that it doesn't clear her for Indara's murder. One more from Gaz here.
Nope, not yet. Gaz says, another question. Why didn't they, meaning the Jedi, bring in the Jedi killer themselves rather than put her on a random prison transport? Oh, wait.
I said that.
Yeah.
I did say
Yeah.
that.
Why not just bring them in themselves on their fancy ship with the witness?
Well, Yord is going to mention it later, but maybe they had somewhere else they had to go, so they just figured, drop her off on the taxi and send her home.
I guess so.
Maybe.
Guess so.
Anyway, Saul exits the cell and reactivates the shield, and then he asks if there's any sign of life on Karlak, which is kind of a weird statement because of what we'll know later on about it. But Vern tells him that the Republic dispatched probe droids to survey the wreckage, and Master Saul then requests permission to go to Karlak and bring Osha in himself. Vernestra whispers that it's highly unlikely she survived, but Saul is confident she is alive, and he can feel it. Vernestra tells him that she can't afford to lose him to a field mission, and he's far too valuable at the temple. But I like this part. Saul relays to her that he trained her, and if she is guilty, it is his failure, and he pleads with her to let him take accountability.
It's a heavy burden, isn't it?
Yeah. But she reluctantly agrees, but tells him to take a small team with him and be discreet. And as he leaves, she bids him farewell with, "May the Force be with you." So let's check in on our players one more time here. In the role of Padawan Jackie Lawn, we have Daphne Keene, and you should remember her from her performance as X-23 Logan, and possibly in the upcoming Deadpool movie.
Yep.
And young Ahsoka.
Yes.
She was young Ahsoka.
No, she wasn't.
Or wasn't that...
No, that's
that was
young Gamora.
Yeah.
My bad.
Oh my gosh.
You're right. That's horrible. Sorry.
I can't recall.
I've forgotten her name now too. She's in the new the video game movie that's coming out with the new Borderlands movie that's coming out. She's in that.
My bad.
Oopsie doodle.
That's okay.
Anyway, next up, our tattooed face convict is played by Thomas Coombs. You might know him from his work on the shows Baby Reindeer, Save Me, or the 2021 film Boiling Point. Our restrained convict is played by Dan Milne, and you may have seen this British actor in his previous roles in films Never Here or the series The Letter for the King.
Cool.
Yeah. Back at the prison ship, or back at the wreckage of the prison ship, Asha bolts upright, gasping for air. She calms and looks around in shock, and a snowdrift has filled part of the ship through a breach in the hull. Sparks flicker down from the ceiling above. Osha rises up and begins to survey the damage as snow continues to fall through a hole in the ceiling. She walks to the now vacant escape pod door and surveys the snowy landscape outside, and we get a pullback shot of the ship, and we're told that Osha has crashed on Karlak. She makes her way back into the ship, and as she searches around, a hooded figure appears in the door behind her. Asha turns, spotting the figure, who dashes outside. She calls to the figure and gives chase, heading out into the unforgiving cold. So this is what we were saying earlier. According to the Star Wars databank,
Yep.
The world Karlak was originally envisioned to be a desert planet.
Oh.
And in its earliest incarnations, the world was known as Boz Pity.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. But when filmmakers opted for a more frigid climate, they changed it to Karlak, and it was used instead. First appearing in season 4 of the Clone Wars, episode 14, Friend in Need.
Obi-Wan Kenobi makes a reference to doing something on Boz Pity.
It's the Sabine's family homeworld, is it not?
That's a good
It's
question.
where they're, it's Karlak. That's where Sabine's family is hiding. That's the snow world that they go to in Rebels.
Right, right.
And because of that, like, we know there are people living on Karlak, so it makes me kind of wonder when he asks, is there any sign of life on Karlak?
Super weird that she strapped in so tight and made a big point of making a scene of her strapping in tight, and then she wakes up on the floor of the ship,
flung from it.
Karlak, during the Clone Wars between the Republic and the Secessionist Confederacy of Independent Systems, Karlak was home to a camp belonging to the Mandalorian terrorist faction Death Watch.
Yep.
In the year 20 BBY, the Jedi Padawan Ahsoka Tano traveled to Karlak with her friend Lux Bonteri, who secretly planned to join Death Watch in an attempt to get revenge on Count Dooku. Interesting. Yeah, Death Watch.
But it goes back further, because I believe Paz Vizsla actually had some interactions on this planet as well, or pre-Vizsla.
That's where she
because Death Watch would have been there. Yeah, so for sure.
There's like a shaman type dude who's encouraging them to get the hell off the planet.
This is not the planet from Rebels, though.
No,
we don't have an appearance in Star Wars Rebels. We got 3 in Clone Wars. And then 2 more in High Republic stuff. High Republic Tempest Runner.
What am I thinking of? It's like a moon,
I'm
I
not
guess.
sure.
Mandalore. It's a snow world where they are, right? Like,
maybe, yeah. I think it is.
Maybe I might be mixing that Ahsoka, because she goes there with Lux Bonteri, right?
Yeah, Lux Bonteri.
And so I might be mixing 2 episodes up, because.
So this is a world we've been to before.
Yes, 100%.
Just the first time in live action.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, previously in animated. But back on Coruscant, we find Master Saul and his Padawan Jecki Lon descending a stairwell, and she thanks him for allowing her to accompany him, but he replies that it's not what he would have planned for her first mission. She assures her master that she is ready, and he cites, "That may be so, but we need backup."
That kind of plays into that thing that I was saying about Booksmart. Like, she's so, pardon the pun, but she's so green behind the ears, I guess, or wet behind the ears, green. Good for her first mission.
Gaz says, "Mandalorians rule."
Mandalorians rule.
When he says they need backup, she quickly questions, "Is it Yord?" To which Saul questions back, "What's wrong with Yord?" And she replies, "Nothing. No, he's Yord." So they had
shows being self-referential without meaning to there, I think.
Maybe. But they head out the doorway to the spaceport, and eventually they enter the ship, and the two come across a shirtless Yord who's steaming his Jedi robe. He looks up with surprise and quickly greets Master Soul, then bows to him. He thanks him for choosing him for this mission, and he continues that he should have brought Osha in himself, then apologizes for his error. Saul tells him that they leave in 5 minutes, and as he walks past, Yord tells him he will redeem himself, and Saul pats him on the shoulder. Jecki looks Yord up and down and then plainly tells him, "Put your clothes on, Yord."
That's an example of them doing something on purpose just to get a talk.
Having him doing some uniform upkeep.
Well, is this like the first time we've seen something similar to laundry?
So it's not laundry, though, because it's the clothes that he's wearing.
Yeah, he's just steaming his robe.
He's steaming his robe.
Steaming the robe would have been fine if he was fully dressed.
Sure. One. But there's no, it doesn't, it's not like in the previous scene, his clothes got ripped or dirty, and now it doesn't move the plot forward at all. It's just to get people talking. And it will because of Ben Swallow.
Yeah, it's your shirtless Kylo.
This will be, right? This is just an attempt to, like, let's redo that.
Maybe. But Yord smirks as Jecki follows Saul, and then their ship departs from the temple.
This could just be another example of showing that even though like, he's a new knight and he's still kind of awkward,
Mm-hmm.
And it also tells us that, and this is to make the military analogy, no good soldier ever looks good on the parade square. Do you know what I mean? So this is the inverse of that. The guy who's like so preoccupied with, how they look, that when it comes to the real stuff, they may not hit the mark every time.
Joseph says
Kylo and Rey similarity. Yeah,
Yep.
kind of. Yeah.
Retro Rebellion.
Resolute Rebellion.
Sorry.
Welcome to the show, sir. Got to be honest, after 1 and 2, I'm out for the rest. Always enjoy, y'all. Hope you have a great week. Well, thank you very much. Hope to see you back when this is over. Don't forget, we've got season 2 of Andor coming up later this year.
It's hard to argue with that logic.
Fair enough.
We return to the snow planet of Karlak, where we find Osha running through some rocky walled terrain after the hooded figure. And the hooded figure stops and turns, revealing a young girl with the same type locks as Osha. Osha stares at her wide-eyed, and the young girl speaks. Hello, Osha. Osha questions, May? And the young girl replies with a devious tone, Hello, sister. The background begins to fade into a forest landscape, and as the snow continues to fall, but disoriented, Osha looks around at her morphing surroundings and questions, Brendock? She hears a voice call from behind her, Osha. And as she turns to look, her face is illuminated by firelight. What's Gaz saying here?
Gaz says, well, honestly, you need to steam those robes because ironing them would just take too much time. Not to mention the ironing board droid is just a complete pain in the butt to deal with.
What if Pip would do it?
Pip, he's an iron.
He's also an iron.
He's also an iron.
But the camera, it switches to behind Osha, and we see the forest now ablaze. And as she momentarily watches the woods burn, young May runs again. Osha tells her to wait, then follows, and they dash against the background of the burning forest. Young May tells her, You're with me, I'm with you, always one, but born as two. The landscape morphs again, and this time they're in the interior of a fortress, and May stops. Osha looks around, finding herself in a bedchamber, and May continues, As above sits the stars. She turns and lowers her hood, and below lies the sea. I give you you. And Osha finishes the phrase, and you give me me. Osha steps forward and becomes a twin version of young May, who says, You remember.
That whole, the little piece of poetry that they did just gave me like horror movie vibes.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Twin vibes.
Evil twin vibes.
Well, for sure. Because Osha questions May, is it really you? To which she replies, yes. Osha tells her that she thought she was dead and then asks if she killed Indara. And May plainly answers, yes. Then young May's eyes go completely black. And with a smile, she tells Osha, I will kill them all. Osha, now an adult again, looks up as the snow falls again. And the location morphs back into the harsh, snowy terrain. We hear a beeping and Osha bolts upright again, gasping for breath, back in the wreckage of the prison ship. So was this a dream or a force vision?
So I think there's definitely some, like this is going on the...
It confused the hell out of me.
On the idea that there are in fact two people and that these are two twin girls, that they're, as you say, Hank, they may be a dyad in the force and that they have that connection. It may explain why she was accepted to the order as late in life as she was.
Mm-hmm.
It felt a little bit like the Last Jedi's scene where Rey falls into the floor and has
then wakes up staring again.
And then there's the art film, like
the infinite mirrors,
the images of her infinite mirrors. It felt like, huh? To me.
Yeah, and I think that, again, talking about things done intentionally, I think this is intentional. We're supposed to be questioning this stuff. We're supposed to be like asking, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
With the writing? I don't know if that's the thing they were trying to elicit out of me.
But I don't think it's a question about the writing. I think it's a question about what is this character experiencing and what are they trying to tell us? And I think that's going to play out the more that these two characters interact with each other.
Mm-hmm. But she reaches for Pip and picking up the droid, she tells the droid to calm down. You're okay. But likely it's more for herself. And catching her breath, she tells the droid, you wouldn't believe who I just saw. And then we iris out into hyperspace where we find the Jedi ship streaking forward. And inside the common area of the ship, Sol sits with his thoughts. Jecki again asks for permission to speak freely, and Sol chuckles and tells her, "You don't need to keep asking for permission." Jecki asks how well he knows this former Padawan, but he tells her Osha. So she rephrases, "How well do you know Osha?" And Sol relays that 16 years ago, he was posted on her home planet, Brendok, and he was there when her sister started a fire that killed her entire family. Osha was the whole survivor, and he took her as his Padawan. And Jecki questions that she had a sister, and he tells her, yes, she had a twin. Yord steps forward, noting that he didn't know Osha was a twin. And Jecki interjects that it's not in her file. But Sol sighs, and then Jecki posits, "Do you think that?" But Sol cuts her off with a no. May is dead. I saw her die. Just then an alarm chirps, and Yord notes that it's Karlak, and we're going to prepare to land. And as the ship approaches, it disengages from its hyperdrive unit and rockets towards the surface.
I like that. I like that the ship's got a big drive section and a little living section. Reminds me of the hyperspace rings that we see later on.
Yeah, saying here.
Either they are psychically connected or the Sith Lord is connecting them from across the galaxy. I hope it's the first.
Mark my words.
I do too.
Force dyad.
So our second Jedi ship this episode here is referred to as the Polan. Manufactured by Lantillian Shipwrights, the Polan 717 Jedi Transport is a versatile shuttle employed by the Jedi Order in the age of the High Republic.
I believe that is another new name. Lantillian Shipwrights. I'm not familiar with that one.
But back aboard the wrecked prison ship, Osha works to salvage what she can, and Pip begins beeping. So she looks up through the hole in the ceiling and sees the approaching Jedi vessel streak through the blizzard conditions before hurrying off. What's Joseph saying here?
Questions. The Padawan read Saul's mind?
I don't think so.
I think she was just questioning.
Just like finishing his sentence, kind of like they've been together a while. You know, after you
yeah
hang out with a person, you know, and especially when she's been indoctrinated in his way of thinking, essentially. That's the whole point of Jedi, right? Like,
but at the same time, she brings up a good point. Like, holy crap, if she has a twin, is there a chance? Right?
Yep. Yeah.
But as the ship flies low over the wreckage, we cut to the interior later, and we find Yord and Jecki inspecting it. Yord surmises that there's no way she could have survived this, but Jecki tells him clearly someone's been here. And Yord, he tells her it's nothing more than scavengers as Sol steps past them. And a look of horror crosses his face, and he rushes out of the ship, telling the other two to follow him. So I think he just came to the realization that, yes, May might be alive. But we find Osha racing across the rocky glacier, still wearing her mech-neck uniform, and she sprints through the falling snow. The three Jedi continue on in pursuit, and Sol, he pauses a moment leaning on a boulder before heading off again in her direction. Osha comes upon a cave and rushes inside, and she pauses a moment to adjust her backpack before delving deeper inside. Finally, she sees an opening ahead and makes her way towards it. Soon the Jedi enter the cave as well, and Yord ignites his lightsaber to illuminate the area. Osha continues forward to the opening, only to find herself at the edge of a cliff with no way forward. With nowhere left to go, Osha nearly slips before backing away from the edge. But inside the cave, Yord's lightsaber continues to light the way, and up ahead they spot Osha's silhouette. And Yord calls out, "Stop, in the name of the Republic and the Jedi Order." And this causes her to panic a little bit, and she turns to them, stepping back slightly. But Sol steps forward and calls to her, and she calls back to him and then pleads, "I didn't do it." Sol tells her, "Step away from the edge," begging now. She pleads, "Sol, please believe me." But before she can finish her plea, her footing slips and she tumbles over the edge of the cliff. Instinctively, Sol reaches out with the Force, and Sol stops her fall, leaving her suspended in the air. Pip beeps as she looks up, seeing him there, and with a force pull, he lifts her back to safety on the cliff. As Osha catches her breath on her knees, Sol kneels down and gives her a smile. She tells Sol that May is alive, and he nods and tells her that he believes her. He then tells her that she needs to go with them, beckoning her to go, and he helps her up. Yord stands at the ready with his lightsaber as Jecki powers on a set of binders, but Sol tells them to stand down, and he walks Osha past them, and they all exit the cave.
I feel like if she had never told him that, like now that she's told him, that does lend more to that it is two separate people. It does for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird that 30 seconds before that he goes, I watched her die.
Yeah.
And now it's just on hearsay. I believe you.
I believe you.
But at the same time, going back, he said, don't trust your eyes. They will deceive you, right?
That's right. I saw her die. Don't trust your eyes.
Yeah. But,
And therein is part of his failure.
Mm-hmm. But we cut to a new location near a shoreline covered with rocks, where we find our purple cloaked assassin walking along the rocky terrain towards a cloaked figure standing on a rock formation. A voice calls out, the Jedi live in a dream they believe everyone shares. If you attack a Jedi with a weapon, you will fail. Steel or laser are no threat to them, but an acolyte kills without a weapon. An acolyte kills the dream. The strange figure then ignites a red lightsaber, and we iris out.
That was unnecessary. The
Way
lighting of the
unnecessary.
lightsaber was completely unnecessary, although it does serve to go, by the way, here's your villain, here's your big bad for the show.
The whole scene was unnecessary.
Yeah,
I felt like this was
it was very clunky editing on this. I keep saying the word clunky. I need a new word. And also,
I just want to ask, do you think this is happening at the same time as the interaction between Osha and Sol?
Yeah.
I think they're probably playing with continuity, which is maybe why the editing's bad on purpose, or I shouldn't say bad. Why the editing doesn't work for me on purpose.
Yeah.
Could be that. Like, you have to do a Fight Club thing very craftily. I had the luxury, and I'm going off the rails a little. I had the luxury of reading the novel before I saw the film.
Yeah.
And they still managed to pull off things in the film that I couldn't see coming, which is
that's
excellent.
Yeah, that's cool.
Excellent film work. So it could be that the weird editing could be indicative of that. Yeah. I think the fact that the character is giving you the rules, and you've already seen her kill a Jedi with a weapon.
Yeah.
And yes. Right. So
Steel was a
Steel. There is a part with Steel. There is a part in the second episode that clarifies this a little. And if it wasn't there, it wouldn't. This scene ripped me. I literally was like, what? It pulled me right out of anything I was even remotely in. It seemed very weird. It seemed like a voiceover rather than him speaking to the character.
Yeah.
Like it seemed like he was narrating. And then the lighting of the lightsaber just felt crazy cringe to me.
Yeah, I didn't, the villain expositional dialogue doesn't bother me because that to me is like, oh, that's mad science.
No, it's super villain stuff.
It's super villain stuff. But at the end, oh, okay, I didn't need that.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Didn't need it.
Yeah, as I say here.
My May's hair is longer than her sister's. Yes, it is by several magnitudes.
It is.
Joseph says this was also another very interesting part. The voice was very muffled and hard to hear. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so you couldn't recognize Manny Jacinto.
Yeah, because he's definitely talking through a mask or something, some sort of modulator.
Yeah, I mean they all have a voice modulator. He looks a lot like one of the Knights of Ren.
Yeah, there's that. I read a comment earlier this week that made a joke about, you've got Osha and May, and then you're going to have Manny Jacinto, and his twin is the Sith guy.
right. It's all twins.
With one more here.
Gaz says, I thought she was to kill one of the 4 Jedi without a weapon.
So they spill it out for you in the second episode, so you're not wrong. But right here, it felt to me like he was giving the rules to her, and because she broke them, or I felt like he was actually giving the rules to the audience again. I thought they were telling us something and not showing us. But
I think they also make a point, like in the next episode, to he won't like that if he finds out, right? So that's maybe something you just, yes, I killed her. Don't offer any more than she's dead.
Yeah.
Did you do it with a weapon?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Like a Sith would tell the truth. No, I didn't.
They always tell the truth. Come on.
I force choked him with a shot gum down his throat. Does everybody need 2 minutes like I need 2 minutes? Just real quick before we jump in.
Take your 2 minutes, man.
You're a soldier, Andy. How many slides was that, bro? You are
55.
an animal. You are an animal. The second half of the show will be shorter, folks. Stand by.
Quick water break, and we're going to come right back, and Hank will take us through episode 2.
And I do apologize because I did have a nice parallel here for this scene.
Yeah.
Because it reminded me really heavily of the Harrison Ford one.
Fugitive.
Fugitive, yeah.
I didn't do
I
it.
didn't do it. I don't care. Just come on. No, you're gonna fall off.
Yeah.
Force
That's
save.
the waterfall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where they're at the pipe or whatever at the dam.
Why did I say waterfall? Oh, because there's water coming out.
Yeah, it's like a big waterfall going down.
Yeah.
But,
so all in all, I want to say to those of you who are watching right now, we see you watching. Thank you for sticking with us. I know this is, I always say we're never going to be first. We try to be thorough. It's Sunday night. The show is now what, 4 days old?
Something like that.
5 days old if you watched it. 6 days old if you watched it Tuesday night when it dropped early, like I did. So yeah, you've probably heard a lot of this stuff already, but we do thank you for tuning in and hanging with us.
I did miss one. I had it added, but I was rushing to finish.
Yeah.
And we had talked about it just a little bit there beforehand. Amandla Stenberg is playing both May and Osha.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But the younger versions are actually being played by twins.
Yeah. Do we have? Do we know who they are?
I had it here. Let me just double check again.
Let's see here. Yeah.
There it is. So Leah Brady is playing Little May.
Yep.
And where'd her sister go here? Oh, come on. I had this morning.
Oh, she's been in the Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, one of them has.
Lauren has been in the Umbrella Academy.
Lauren Brady is her sister, and she plays Little Osha.
Okay.
So,
films such as Violent Night, The Love Club Tara, and The Love Club Lauren.
Yeah, I found that kind of neat that they actually got twins to play the younger versions. So,
yeah, no, that's very cool.
Yeah, that is my coverage. So,
cool.
Giving it over to you, sir.
Okay, I don't have a joke this week, but I have something of a lexicon.
Ooh.
It's like without it's I got a word for you. It's without the game component realistically though, but
yeah.
The word is friend shaman. Fremdschämen. It's a German word.
Fremdschämen.
I would buy that.
Fremdschämen. Can you get anybody got any just like wild guesses off the top?
It's
a pretty literal Fremdschämen.
Fremdschämen.
It's where you go out and shame your friends for the stupid shit they did.
A little bit. It's German for vicarious embarrassment. The feeling you get on behalf of someone watching them do something very cringy, or the feeling I got watching of this.
Oh man. Okay. Hey, I just want to take a minute here. I was just sort of thanking the audience for hanging with us. I didn't realize that this is Gaz's first review with us.
Ooh. Oh, really?
You, man. Thanks for hanging out on this.
Beauty.
One. Yeah, man.
Beauty. Well, buckle up. Slide 1. Okay, episode 2, Revenge/Justice, and we're carrying that motif forward of the.
Do we like the naming convention, by the way?
It's twins.
Yeah.
So that's like indicative of we're trying to get dichotomy, two sides.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's not, it works. It's 39 minutes with bookends. It's 31 minutes without. That's a lot of credits.
That's a lot.
And they don't.
Yeah.
They do include a full 1 minute 9 second recap of the episode. I just watched 30 seconds before.
Oh wow.
That's really big. Directed by Leslie Headland, written by Jason McAuliffe and Charmaine DeGrot. I didn't get any sort of research on that, but I'm sure that they're veterans in the field. The episode description reads: "An assassin strikes again, but this time the Jedi are there to attempt capture," which is a weird episode description because it actually gives the whole plot to the whole episode away before you watch it.
Well, the only thing you're left
that's
wondering
that's
is
the Disney's official description there. Where are we doing? I gotta get my controls ready here. May May infiltrates a Jedi outpost at Galaxy's Edge on on the planet Olega, which we know is a Jedi outpost because they tell us rather than showing us, because this Jedi outpost looks like a villain lair from a Joel Schumacher Batman movie. Using a street kid as a distraction for a door droid, May scrambles it with a cool little device. It looks like the thing that Crosshair and those guys, like I was expecting it to explode actually because it looked very similar to that device. Inside the outpost, she lurks around in the shadows, at one point rocking right past the Jedi. Did you guys see that? Did you notice that? Like right past the Jedi.
I thought
I
was
did
supposed
see
to be
that.
a cameo for Mace Windu.
What?
the bald-headed black fellow Jedi walking through the halls. I'm like,
that
okay,
makes him a very, very old,
very
man.
old,
very
but, like,
old guy.
Since he's on the edge, right? Does that grant him unnatural long life?
Maybe. That made me go, huh? But it also could be leading to my theory that maybe there's not somebody corporal actually there. Right? So the Sixth Sense, Fight Club-ish.
Okay.
Maybe there isn't some, like she feels like she's got to hide, but then maybe she doesn't because she actually walks right past a Jedi who doesn't question her presence at all. She confronts a Jedi Master, Torben. I don't even want to read that part. Who's actually Dean Charles Chapman, the actor Dean Charles Chapman. He was Tommen in Game of Thrones.
That's right. He's the youngest Baratheon child.
That's right. She does her "come at me, bra" pose. However, Torben's eyes are closed. One side of his face is horribly scarred. It's likely that the actor did it to himself when he read the script. He's floating cross-legged in meditation, and nothing May does can disrupt the invisible force bubble around him. Except there's one scene, and this is probably an editing error. She tries to get up after she does this big high kick, and flies through the air, tries to kick the top of him, falls to the ground. And when she gets up, his robes billow in the wind, and they didn't catch that in editing. So she should have attacked him from underneath, like sweep the legs that aren't there. After failing her attacks, May flees before the other Jedi come into the room. Torben never loses concentration, falls, or ever opens his eyes.
I found that to be another one of those neat, like, we've heard of it, but like, here's a dude, he's meditating and he's got a force bubble.
So
this is not something we've seen before.
No.
So it is, but it's just because not all of us are as, like, and me included, we're not as well versed in the High Republic stuff as we could be. So what the vow that he takes here is called the Barash vow, and it's canonized in the Darth Vader comics. Kirak Infala has taken the Barash vow. You go up and you live inside the Force. You eschew. So he does it when the Jedi Order falls after Order 66. His Kirak Infala his recourse is to just remove himself from the galactic society world and stuff, to go inside himself, but to not cut himself off the Force like Luke does, but instead to become one with the Force in some fashion. So
without dying.
Yeah, and they do indicate that this is the Barash vow that this particular Jedi Knight has taken. And there's also in the High Republic, they actually go into some detail, and I remember it did, and this was in my research for this episode. I found it. I didn't get a chance to talk to Lauren about it, but the reason Jedi can't fly is because they're not able to. They're not so powerful that they can counteract gravity. But what they can do is slow gravity's force on them, so they can jump real high or jump real far, but they can't stay floating indefinitely, which is why Rey has trouble with it. Why it's a big test of Luke's abilities on Dagobah to levitate things, because you're actually fighting against gravity physically. So that does speak to this character's ability, because they kind of give you the impression he hasn't moved in 10 years.
Well, that's what I kind of thought. Like,
so he's just surviving on the Force and from a ginkgo leaf.
Well, and the beard, the glue from his beard.
Yeah. It's interesting that that he is sustained in that state.
The Force is all I need.
That's what I mean. Like,
yeah.
Maybe that's all your spirit needs, but your body.
Vader talks about that very thing in the comic. All I need is the Force for sustenance. It's one of these where Palpatine leaves him on a planet, takes away his saber, and says, "Just defend yourself with the Force." And he's like feeds up and stuff. Anyway, I
You
changed. I
feel
did.
like so can I just want to ask
Yeah.
a question, because this kind of feels like it's tied to the lost technique of becoming a force ghost. This feels like it's like adjacent to that.
I mean, that very well could be. It's like there's got to be many, many, many teachings that we're not privy to. Like we've seen a good smattering of stuff, but we haven't seen, probably everything that's in those books is what I'm sort of getting at. So
Yeah.
and it's a take on stuff we've seen, but it takes it to another sort of limit. Like
Right.
Luke has this ability in the Battlefront game where he does this force bubble, but he strikes the ground and then it's like a wall of force that goes. So it's all they're
Like a
all like
concussive thing.
it's not this for me that's sort of not out of the realm of possibilities at all. It certainly does. It's not one of the things I had a beef with for sure. Osha wakes up in the Jedi ship to find the Padawan, Jackie Lon, having technical troubles with her console. Again, she wakes up after a murder or an attempted murder. So it's the second, I think. This is the second time that happens. Sort of leans into my theory. Osha advises on how to fix the issue. The two have an awkward conversation about her qualifications as a mech. Osha's droid companion Pip gets offended when Osha suggests she's more flexible than a droid. I think this is an attempt at comedy. Where's Jar Jar Binks when you need him? Master Soul enters, ending the conversation. Soul is approached by Yord, who vehemently disagrees with Osha being treated as a companion rather than a suspect, even though they were childhood friends. Soul questions why Yord is so intent on suspecting Osha. Yord counters that only Osha's Jedi training and not seemingly the untrained May would be enough to take out Master Indara. Soul advises Yord not to let fear cloud his judgment and moves on. In the ship's cockpit, Soul calls Jedi Master Bernestra Rowe, who finally agrees that Osha cannot be a suspect since she was with Soul when Master Torben was attacked. Soul feigns humility, asking Bernestra for advisement. He gets his wish for Osha to be left in his care, and he goes to Olega to investigate the attack on Torben. Yord once again protests having Osha in their company, but Soul quickly lets him know that he's been overruled by the Jedi Order. And when he says Jedi Order there, that Bernestra must be on the Order at this point.
You feel like she's part of the High Council?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not explicit, but she seems to carry some crazy. It's one of those when they first meet in your episode, Andy. She's like, "Hello, my friend."
But he's
which is a thing that you and I might do, but it feels like it's more for the audience. So I know these are friends. I understand they're peers, if you will.
Yeah. And again, she says I knew when you were little, so she's been there a hell of a long time.
Right. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe the Mary Ellen species are
that's another that wasn't laid out for us. So then Barriss could be still a factor in the Ahsoka show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She will be.
May travels to a shop in a village on Olega where she finds her contact, an ex-smuggler, Chimera. And also the name there is sort of indicative of Chimera. It's a trick. It's a bunch of different things put together as one. Played by actual robot Manny Jacinto. He's sleeping one off. May throws a cup at him at the wall and awakens Chimera and chastises him for his drinking. He claims to have taken the shop owner's clothes and the shop from the person that owns them. It's sort of implied that he killed them, but it's not explicit. Mm-hmm. He's revealed to be tracking May's progress along her kill list on behalf of their Dark Master. May has Chimera prepare a poison called Bunta. I don't know if it's spelled differently
than Bunta Eve.
Than Bunta Eve, but it kind of gave me that vibe. Bunta, maybe Bunta is a dark thing. As the two debate strategies on how to kill Master Torben, and it explains a little more clearly that killing a Jedi unarmed is something that she must actually get right. It's like a rite of passage, and she has 4 tries, I guess, to get it correct. In the weird epilogue in the first episode, the voiceover seems to imply that's the only way to kill a Jedi is because
right. Yeah. Chimera
suggests that the Jedi's peace and serenity is a lie, quoting Sith 101. That's very interesting. That's the first line of the Sith code.
The Sith code.
Another reason why I think that he's the master.
He's the Sith Lord. Oh, interesting.
He literally quotes, if he's just a smuggler, like he says, he quotes Sith 101 there. So May warns Chimere not to mention the poison to their master. He's pretty cool. It's weird because a lot of people, at least from what I've seen, a lot of actors and stuff, and maybe we've become accustomed to it. They approach their mannerisms, their walking gait. It all has like in Mando, all the background characters, they all have a different feel. He feels like he's walking more, like moving more like we move. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like it's an interesting take, like, because we've never seen a character sort of like emote the way that he does. It's pretty cool, actually. He's probably my favorite character so far. Slide 5. Soul brings Osha some milk and starts to have a dad-like conversation about her mech-neck crew tattoo. It's basically he doesn't. It's she says, "Don't you like it?" And it's very dad like. It doesn't matter whether I like it.
Yeah, doesn't matter what I think.
It's a little bit of a lean. Like we get to see their relationship a bit. They move on to the serious subject of May's apparent death years before, and this is where the writing, I think, really starts to fail. And this is what I was saying before: writing basics, day one, show don't tell. This again is all characters who already know all the information, discussing it like it's new because there's no crafty attempt to show the audience. Everything is awkwardly laid out in clunky exposition. Soul is able to navigate a way through his guilt. Osha cannot, implying that this subject is why she left the Jedi Order. The ship arrives at Olega, and Soul, Yord, and Jeki all head for the Jedi outpost. They arrive just as May is sneaking in, this time through the hole in the ceiling, because why have security? why move the guy at all?
She already used up her security disc thing to get rid of
to get in. Yeah.
No, but I mean, like, there was an attempt on his life. Why would you not move him?
Yeah. Are they even capable of moving him?
Oh well, maybe.
Right after all the attempts at striking him failed, maybe
you shouldn't have put him in the only room in the building with a hole in the ceiling.
Yeah.
Where am
That's
I?
how he gets
the ship arrived. Right.
He survives.
He just trickles in.
He survives through photosynthesis.
Yes, he's a plant. He's a plant.
He
looks a lot like Neil Patrick Harris.
He kind of does, yeah.
He does. Yeah, and so do I. The ship arrives at Olega and. Or at least seal the hole. Yeah,
as Gaz says, yeah.
or at least seal the hole in the roof. But if we were sealing holes, we never would have blown up the first Death Star. So
gotta have that exhaust port.
The ship arrives at Olega, and Soul, Yord, and Jack all head for the outpost. They arrive just as May is sneaking in again. This time, and they also discern that it was the street kid that was May's distraction, and they sort of catch her. People also have a problem with the frumpy Jedi. I don't so much. He reminds me of Samuel Tarly, the husky Jedi.
That's exactly the analogy that I made.
I do think it's indicative of perhaps maybe the level of, there's so many Jedi, so many people qualify now. So like you're not a warrior monk, maybe, but also perhaps his ability to use the Force doesn't. It's not like you don't have to be at peak physical, which is a lot of.
He may not even be a Force user at all.
He could just be the Jedi.
That's
janitor.
True. That he's wearing Padawan robes, I think. But
we talk about that. Well, does he have a braid?
He does have a braid.
Oh well, I take all that back then. Yeah. I take it back.
But I mean, he might not be human, so his body type might be indicative of his species.
Right.
So I can live with that. I get this idea of these like warrior monks that are like cut.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like Yondu or whatever his name is.
Yondu.
Yeah. Sorry.
Which one?
It's written here somewhere.
Oh,
the sideshow Bob guy.
Yord.
Yord.
Sorry,
Yord.
Yord.
He doesn't look Swedish.
He doesn't look Swedish. He
No.
does not. As the Jedi are searching the Riddler's lair, May gives a speech to Torben about how he can find forgiveness for the transgressions of the past by taking the poison, and she places it in front of him. Torben finally opens his eyes, lowers to the ground. The Jedi Master claims he's been waiting for her. He takes the poison, apologizing to May for the transgression.
Well, there's a whole discussion, part of that sequence in the shop about the only thing that he wants is what she can give him, and that's absolution. Ugh. And the fact that he does take this willingly, like, okay,
willingly.
What did they do?
Right.
Like, so he just stewed on guilt for 6 years after whatever happened, and then took it out for the next 10.
Yeah.
Couldn't live with himself, so he
drank the Kool-Aid,
I guess. But then also taking that ritual means he doesn't have to talk to anybody or be questioned or.
Yeah, I don't know the particulars of the ritual, but certainly you become a burden on the state, right? Like we got to house him.
Yeah.
You know,
If you don't have to feed him or nothing.
No,
like,
I guess
that brings up a whole other awkward thing. Like, why is there not a pile of crap underneath him? You know?
And if there is or if he does like take a break once an hour to eat or something like that, like she could time that attack or something. Hard to say. As the Jedi are searching, I did that already. Sorry. Out in the hallway, Sol feels his friend die and comes running. Osha finds Torben first. Somehow she got ahead of everybody by following the spirit of her younger twin through a shortcut that not even the local Jedi seem aware of, or else why not go the quickest way to the chamber to save the Jedi? They examine the scene, she examines the scene, recognizing the scent of Bunta poison. The Jedi burst in, thinking that Osha is the culprit, and she gets an unexpected ally in Yord, who's been thinking she's been following her every move secretly and knows. So he also got ahead of them, sneaking around slowly.
Maybe he's not so thick.
Not so.
Because when she dropped off, he knew enough to like, hey.
There's a level of I have a level of expectation about, like, it's not even about character writing anything. There's a level of expectation I have. Like, if you reach the rank of Jedi Knight, there's this, just in my head. And I'm not saying anything about the character or anything like that. It's just so I would expect him to be able to do that for sure.
Yeah.
Or to wield a lightsaber correctly, or all these things that I take for rote with in terms of a Jedi. Osha recognizes Bunta as the poison used, leading the Jedi to discern that Torben willingly killed himself. So it's less about the poison in that scene and more about the fact that Yord saw that she didn't do it.
Yeah.
You could even have pushed it a little further, having the Jedi that don't know these Jedi go, wait a minute, a spade is a spade. Is there a trial? Are we going to have I guess the guy's word is enough.
Yeah.
And especially because it seems like Coruscant Jedi outrank Field Jedi. Get that impression?
Oh yeah, that this is an outpost. So
they're still wearing their Coruscant colors. It's like you picture there's some Jedi out there with blue and green and red or whatever the case is, kind of thing.
I can buy that. Sure.
Perhaps their costumes weren't made at Spirit Halloween. They should hire some of these cosplaying kids, because some of the cosplaying kids are blowing my mind.
And I saw some good ones on the weekend.
Yeah, and I thought, where are we now? Slide 8.
Well, we're at the one big nitpick that I have for the entire episode. They do it twice. They do it twice in this episode. Do they not realize that guy's shop is literally across the street? Why do we have to stare at him through binoculars?
It's one of my problems too, and it's because the sets feel small and they feel like contrived. Like not that every single movie set isn't contrived, because we very real, like, I saw all kinds of memes this week. Like, why are we filming Keanu Reeves in front of a green screen when the actual scene is him just sitting in an office? Why don't we just go to an office and film the scene? Right. And so it's just weird. It feels like a soundstage. It feels like Galaxy's Edge. It feels put together and not enough. I don't know. It's a lot of it for me feels like it's a Saturday Night Live sketch of a Star Wars show,
and yet
or a
to
fan
me,
film.
a lot of the exterior sets to me look like they're reuse. I feel like this to me looks like a lot of the stuff we saw in Mos Espa on the Book of Boba Fett, which is stuff we saw in The Mandalorian, like just redressed stuff that we saw in Navarro,
shot from a different
but
angle
like
or something.
they've moved it around and they've arranged it.
Feels
Like obviously
very
they want
tight.
It does. Yeah.
I had minor beefs with the color palette, but then that's like, so I don't want to even get into that. Like, I know that most Star Wars we've experienced has been painted with a certain weathering sort of schedule, if you will, and a sort of palette of like that visual language of Star Wars, which they take.
Yeah,
I think they go a little bit. I'm coming off the rails anyway. Sol and his team head with Osha into the village, based on the theory that Bunta has a short lifespan and must be used soon after made. And suddenly, every character in the show is an expert in exotic poisons. They work with Jedi Padawans to identify the local apothecary, but quickly identify that Kymir is not the usual shopkeeper working there. The group agrees to override the more experienced Jedi's plan to simply confront the suspect, and instead opts for the Padawan's plan to put a civilian, technically an escaped Republic felon, in danger by sending Osha in disguised as May. What?
That's a sound plan right there. No risk for us, all the risk for the civilian.
Let's prove you're a twin.
That's crazy.
Now, don't betray us.
Yeah. Don't worry. We're Jedi. We'll protect you.
It's crazy obvious that they have a story beat in mind. And now, okay, as you're writing, some of it's organic. You guys both write. Like, I got to point B and now I got to fill in the gaps.
I've got to backtrack.
And it's like they didn't know how to get her in the costume in front of him. And then they sort of just compound it for me in the next, like, how do they know what she, like, I guess they have a visual description. They don't, like, so how do they know that she's wearing a purple hooded robe with the same hairstyle?
No, like, they don't. I mean, but
they
know that the bartender,
twins.
like, that's her.
Yeah.
Well, which was good enough.
I guess it was good enough for them in the beginning, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was good enough to bring him across the galaxy to get the ID. So.
Yeah.
So this was like where I started to actually super check out. I think this is weird because she does a secret comms check in front of a vendor, from whom then she purchases her disguise and proceeds to don it in the middle of the street, 15 feet from the entrance to the apothecary. Initially, super awkwardly, she fools Kymir into confessing his involvement with the poison. It's only moments until he discovers that it's Osha. I was like almost angry that I was being talked down to. Like, I was like, wow. Like, wow. I haven't experienced like that level of, I'm not sure what to say. Like, the writing's like, that's not the caliber I expect from Star Wars, I guess. And maybe that's me. I haven't experienced anything that really, like, and we just went through a bunch of drop balls in terms of narrative that they'd set up. And we were only pissed off in Bad Batch because they had set things up, and we had our own expectations,
they never.
I have to honestly say I had no expectations coming into this, and I was very excited about it. And this really just got under my skin for some reason. Maybe I was on my man period. I don't know. These two scenes just, like, I don't think I could recover after that, quite honestly. What was your beef with? Was your beef the same thing? Like the
for me,
the 15 feet like, from the.
Yeah, I mean, like, that took me out of it. It's like, and especially when we see in the fight scene later on
in the fight scene,
and they're looking over the railing, and they're right there.
Yeah.
Why? I'll just use these binoculars so I can see them really.
I guess because it's night vision. Maybe it's because it's night vision, but it's
got an SD card in it, so it's recording evidence.
Okay, so I mean, but if you had done that, if you had taken the time to like insert a device into it and then turn to switch, I could buy into that. And that, I think that ties into what you say, Hank. Show me, don't tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of
Yeah.
that. And I don't, yeah, we'll get into the end parts. The Jedi rush in. Kymir almost immediately cooperates, selling out May and setting her up for an ambush. But he also plays dumb about whether or not May has a master or who his identity is. There's a line played for comedy that I don't think feels like it works, but who is he? Implying that he knows who he's talking about, but then Kymir pretends that he's talking about Yord and makes an awkward, like, I thought he was with you.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of their attempts at funny for sure. Soul and company. Yeah.
At least he does recognize that it is not May and it's Osha. Like once he's up close to her, he's like, wait a minute, you're not her.
Yeah, no, he fully does. And he does deliver the line of the episode, like, you look just like her. He's very, very, you know,
like, oh, I know
that almost Palpatine type whisper there is another one of my, like, that's the bad guy. And I almost don't want that to be, because like, I'd like to be subverted, and that's very thin to me. But at the same time, he's the coolest character they have so far for me. But the Jedi rush in. Sol and Osha have a major disagreement about how to confront May. Osha is angry at her sister for the ruin of her family. Sol tries to be a teacher and steer her past the path of vengeance. Osha finally agrees to let Sol duel, or I guess face. I keep calling it a duel, but they're not necessarily duels. I guess kung fu fights are duels for sure, I guess. So it is a duel in a way. It's a confrontation for sure.
Mm-hmm.
With everyone in position, the Padawan in the ship, Yondu, watching with binoculars from a balcony 10 feet away, identifies his target, who's standing right in front of him. Sol takes his leave of Osha, who's also right behind the door. Like it happens so many times towards the end of the episode that I just start getting a headache. There's even the binocular shot for you.
I know.
Yeah. When night falls, May approaches the shop and is stopped by Sol in the center of the street, who's in slight belief that it's truly her even still. The two of them start to force foo fight, while Sol questions why May is choosing to fight without proper weaponry and who trained her. The fight feels choreographed and sped up again, but it's not that bad. It's probably because they had the real actors do the stuff. It does feel like they're trying to get that animated, that vibe that we get even in between the Grand Inquisitor and Barriss. It feels like they're going for that vibe. When it just doesn't. But it's not bad. It's not bad.
It's clearly showing us that he is a superior warrior.
Way, like, there's not she doesn't have a chance in hell, which is what I sort of thought too. And she had to use deception to kill Indara for sure, but I felt like she was outclassed in that fight as well. So I was kind of worried a little that, because I'm still sympathetic to the Jedi, right? Like none of us are like, Team Sith, which is what I thought was maybe a bold, like a bold choice to even do a show like this. And another problem I have is, and it's minor, but is that it's marketed as Star Wars from the point of view of the bad guys, which it has not been yet at all.
Not so far, no.
It's definitely still from the POV of the Jedi. So Sol eventually gets the better of May, suspending her movement with the Force and holding her, and he reads her mind. He holds her in the same position that he holds Osha.
Yeah.
Over the cliff, like when he rescues her. It's the same sort of. Why does he keep letting this Force power go? He's got her. Go Team Sith. Yeah.
Go, guys.
I know. We talked about that. I can't relate, but I appreciate your opinion. Sol reads her thoughts, and she doesn't know who her master truly is either. When Sol reveals that Osha is still alive, which I didn't think was a mystery, but I guess it's a mystery to this character.
It would be too.
It's like a weird reveal, because I guess somebody's led her to believe that her sister was like, you get that impression that somebody's playing both sides again, maybe. So May loses it and lashes out. Yord restrains her with his own force hold. Jackie flies in, and a spotlight is used to block her escape route because you can't get past light. That's a pretty good shot of the, because everything's been pretty dark, so that's a nice shot of that costume, which is my favorite.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Let's see. May uses the force to stir up a big dust cloud. She kind of spots the dirt on the ground moving around in the ship. Like, you can sort of see her think, which I thought was kind of neat.
I like this
managed
part.
to pull that off visually. So she makes this big dust cloud.
And here's my issue with it. Not that she did it, is that Soul didn't use the force to push it away.
Push it away.
As fast as she conjured it, he should have been able to
just wipe it,
dismiss it.
Yeah.
Remember Ezra, very early on learning the force, and Kanan's walking him through how to steer the walker through the dust storm and fight the walker. Like, so why can't they sense her through the force? Like, why is a dust cloud suddenly? That's a little bit. So there's a couple of things there. It was a wicked ninja move. I agree. It was very ninja. That's what they're.
Yeah. Wicked ninja move.
Yeah. Guys saying I'm waiting for an actual Sith to show up.
An actual Sith.
So May using the force stirs up a big dust cloud and vanishes. Having been monitoring the situation, Osha decides to get involved. Luckily, it's right outside the door. Osha comes out of the Jedi outpost and spots May hijacking a hover car from a local civilian right in front of her. The two sisters have a moment seeing each other again for the first time. Osha finally recovers her nerve and points a blaster at her sister, but chooses instead to fire wide. May escapes in the car. May escapes in the car. So I thought that was weird because she clearly it's not like I fired and I missed. Clearly it's I'm going to fire over your head and let you go.
Why did she fire so many freaking rounds then?
So that's the second round shot. Doesn't make no. She steps into the street after, maybe realizing a mistake, and then misses clean. But she's wanted for murder. She didn't know her sister was. There's so many reasons to stun her, which doesn't hurt her at all.
No, it does not in the long term.
There's
no.
absolutely no reason that I can think of to shoot over her head on purpose.
Other than we need to get the team together and go
because we got to get to point A, and we don't know how to do that. So we're gonna just write that part.
Maybe,
especially when in the dream
felt like that.
Like in the dream, she's told her flat out, "I'm gonna kill them all." So even if she's
with these two face to face, are you still convinced that this is a Fight Club thing going on?
Yeah, there's all kinds.
And if it is,
watch Fight Club. There's all kinds of Tyler Durden and
them interacting together.
Just sitting on the couch beside one another, and it's just cut so perfectly that you don't realize they've never actually been like. I mean, she just followed the young May out here to see the old May.
Yeah.
Was that person physically there either?
I don't know.
Maybe there's nothing to shoot at. So, I mean, maybe they're going to blow my mind and pull this off, and they're going to re-show these scenes from a different angle, and I'm going to go, "Oh, sorry, you guys are geniuses. I apologize." But I can't. I don't feel it.
It's not there yet. Yeah.
Soul looks disappointed that Osha couldn't bring herself to stun the Jedi killer, which wouldn't have harmed her in any way. The end. So that's probably why they didn't do it the middle of episode 2. Soul checks in with Vernestra, who commands him to wait for the Jedi Council to discuss the development of confirming May is alive and a trained Force user. Meanwhile, May sneaks back into the apothecary, and this scene also bothers me because, again, 15 feet away, you have a third instance of the thing, and this time he gets distracted enough to have a conversation with another person standing there that these two villains are able to have a fight in the alley right in front of them.
Yep.
And then they run away like they got caught in the neighbor's yard stealing apples.
And this is where I try to, I have to let it go, or I'm gonna get really angry about it. All they had to do was just shift the camera angle instead of showing him square on looking through the binoculars, shoot it from an oblique angle down low and like off to the side to give us the impression that it's down the street. That's all you had to do.
Not across the street.
No.
Right. And I feel like if we could solve that,
wow.
And I'm at who are we? Like
I'm not a filmmaker.
Yeah, right. And and that's the other thing is like a lot of people would say you don't have the right, you don't know what it takes, you don't I totally agree. I totally agree. It's just all subjective.
I don't know.
Personal opinion. I have seen films before. I've seen a lot of Star Wars before. I've seen a lot of Disney Star Wars. And the first thing I said in that chat, you'll remember watching it in real time, shockingly subpar. And I stand on that. I thought their fight was really cool. And this is the other reason I think Chimera is he tunes this girl who just tuned Inara.
Oh yeah.
And went toe to toe with Saul, and he just wraps her up like a UFC fighter in 3 moves, shoves her up against the wall, and she can't even, with the force assisted strength to push stone tables around a room, she can't even, you know what I mean? So he's
crazy his hold. Yeah.
I think anyway. If not the man, he's a man for sure. This is the second reason I think he's the baddie. He effortlessly and quickly manhandles the Jedi killer. Chimera redeems himself by revealing that he's located the next target, Wookiee Jedi Kel Naka, and the two sneak off to Olega to face him. And the way they run off is like, we're stealing apples in the farm. They're going to have shotguns full of rocks.
Farmer Johnson's coming.
He's coming. It's like the Jedi wouldn't we need stun guns. Like they had one. Shoot them. I don't know.
Hey, look, there they go.
Oh, there they go. And then another if you had rolled the credits and then put that scene at the end of the last episode, maybe after some credits, it maybe would have worked in terms of having that instead of transitioning to it. The same thing here, but I think worse. Cut to the planet Kofar, which is a lush, beautiful forest world, and is Kashyyyk dropped ball? Maybe it's because the Wookiee is in exile. Maybe, but wouldn't you?
Would you post
Kashyyyk.
a Wookiee Jedi? I guess. I mean, the obviously the Wookiee culture.
Well, you get the feeling.
Would you send him home?
I get the feeling.
Him home?
Well, he's probably removed himself from the order like the other one. We don't know what our Indira's status was for sure, but I get the vibe that
that does tie into my thought of she is sitting with a bunch of shady weirdos. Yeah.
Right. But she's still wearing her robes.
Yep.
Yeah. 1999 Spirit Halloween. And then cut to the planet Kofar. And we find 2 scavengers in thick woods stumbling upon the home of Kel Naka, the Wookiee. We see, and now this is the coolest thing in both episodes. I got to admit, I'll call cool things when I see them. This is the first, it's on one of the slides there, this small on my screen, I can't tell which one. The first Shirwook, written Shirwook, and it says, keep out.
Yeah. Not just garbled.
Not just garbled. We have actual Shirwook, and I've never seen a Shirwook language written. I never bothered to Google it. I just always thought it would be like scribbles or carving in bark. I never thought cool, real cool. And then I couldn't help it.
Language.
As the written language.
Yeah.
That would be an Easter egg.
So
that's the there you go. Far left. If Joseph Ricci's still with us, that's an Easter egg for sure.
Yeah.
The Wookiee quickly scares them away. It's a little weird that a Jedi would like the Hulk at you instead of going, "Excuse me, can I help you?" Which I guess maybe is Wookiee. Right.
Is a Wookiee.
You think he would have tamed his emotions? Being a Wookiee Jedi, I think, would be harder than any other in terms of that raw, like Chewbacca, who's a seasoned combat veteran, can't
rip your arms off,
spring a trap for a sandwich, right?
Yeah.
No, right? Like, you idiot, you're thinking with your stomach again.
Yeah.
Kel Naka heads into his hut with a mighty roar still echoing over the forest. Cut to black, and the time, and there's a scene. There's one scene where he breaks the weapon. First of all, he does some cool stuff. We've seen Gunji, but he does rip a weapon out of there using the force. He does crush it, and then he does this Hulk pose. And in the Hulk pose, all I could think of was Step Brothers, and at the end when he's like, "It's okay that mine's not movie accurate." Because wow,
my,
because
my.
wow.
Do you think the dwelling, the domicile that he's living in, do you think that's a starship laying there?
It looks like a starship to me. Yeah,
Yeah, it's been there
here
long
a
enough
while.
now. Stuff's growing on it.
6 years.
Yeah.
6 years.
So we now know the identity of 3 of the 4.
No, we know all 4 now.
Who's the 4th?
Saul.
Oh, Saul is the 4th.
Saul is the 4th.
Saul is the 4th.
Oh.
Yeah. He's
Why did I
gotten
not
over his
pick up
guilt.
on that?
Because of the writing.
No, I don't know. Okay.
So
I'm tired.
But a fun point. The guy playing our Wookiee here is
Jonas.
the same one that took up after...
It's Jonas.
Yeah, after Peter Mayhew.
Yeah, it's Jonas Suotomo.
And he did say in interviews that I read beforehand that he tried really to like have a different take on the way he moved, because he did really model his performances of Chewbacca on Peter Mayhew, and they studied together for a while when he was still alive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I have to say, though, after 2 episodes of this, I said it in the chat, after 2 hours of Star Wars, I haven't been able to stop thinking about Star Wars for 48 years every single day.
Yeah.
And after 2 hours of this, I had to Google names of the characters because I couldn't remember them.
Couldn't remember their names. Yeah.
It does do 2 things really, really well. It makes George Lucas's clunky dialogue in the prequel trilogy seem Shakespearean in comparison. And it actually explains how Palpatine returned. Did you guys catch that?
No.
It missed that one.
Right? Because we stopped giving a fuck about writing.
Man, have you considered a side gig in stand-up?
Therapy. Maybe therapy.
Therapy.
That's me. That's me for the night.
Therapists.
Now, I got to admit that some of my notes, like I was editing them as I was reading them because I don't want to punch down. And a lot of my jokes were probably offside, so I omitted them. But there's like probably 3,000 words of constructive criticism that I don't want to get into, like technical things too.
Yeah.
So I tried to keep it light, but the best thing I can say is really shockingly subpar. And it's, I find at first I found it weird because I went to say, am I crazy? That's the first thing I do, actually. And you guys know that I'm hard on my media anyway.
Yep.
Like I'm hard on Marvel stuff. I'm pretty hard. And generally I come around if it's worth it. I definitely didn't come around on Eternals. But none of it felt hokey to me. So I guess my problem is that I've got this level of expectation, and maybe it's not what we talked about it. And I said, yes, I expect Star Wars to be a Hollywood blockbuster every time. Yeah. And you're right. We wouldn't have gotten certain things. We wouldn't have had experiments on Clone Wars if we'd been sort of stuck to that. But
all of the weird stuff. I mean, I think on that note, it's just remembering that like not every Star Wars property was written for us.
No, absolutely. No, and it's all
references to things like Caravan of Courage and then the original cartoons like the Ewoks cartoons.
And it's all for kids of some description. The fact that they know
George
that
Lucas
they can
says
money off it now
12-year-olds.
Because the 12-year-olds aren't spending the cash. They're not necessarily having the Disney Plus or buying the $50 Pregnant action figures like
the 4 of them that I bought this weekend.
But the thing was, when I went online to find out, am I crazy? Like, what do people think of this? Because I'm shockingly,
you are not. Right? No, you are not crazy.
But what I started to see was disturbingly groundbreaking. 10 out of 10. Star Wars is riveting thriller, compelling mystery, never been seen before. And I was like, what? 10 out of 10. What am I missing? And then you and I had a discussion. I was like, I think there's some paid stuff going on here.
Certainly among the professional media outlets, I do wonder if that's the goings on. But then I countered that with, and for me, the most accessible thing that we have is social media. And at the time, I literally went to the Star Wars Facebook page, to one of the Acolyte. Just you can pick one, by the way. It doesn't matter which one.
Absolutely.
And at that time, I didn't look at the comments. I just looked at the reactions. You know, you've got your thumbs up, your heart, your care, laugh,
and anger.
and angry. And at the time, there was something like 1,000 reactions. And between the thumbs up and the loves, over 900 of the reactions were thumbs up. And so those were, to me, those are positive. That's to me, that's more real sometimes than what
the score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, because we see all the shitty vitriolic comments, those tend to be the loudest ones. But if you equate one of those comments to the laughing reaction, and that's what I think, any of the laughs are just the people who are just out to burn, let's just burn it down.
Yeah.
But they are such a small number.
I know that I suggested to you that the good, like the 10 out of 10s might have been bots, and you
they may be. They may be.
Yeah, right. But you also said, how can I prove that? And I said, I agreed with you that there is no way to prove it. But then you also posted a picture of the Rotten Tomatoes audience score and suggested that it was review bombed. But how can you prove that? And so that's I think both sides are being played.
The review bombing thing is easily corroborated because they are brand new accounts that have only reviewed that property.
So with that logic, I looked up the accounts of the critics, and there's so many of them. In fact, 110 of them without profile pictures from places that aren't reputable, like brand new critics. And in the top critics score, where they have like these people that have been around for the ages, that score was a more reasonable 75%.
Isn't that something?
And then you look and you're like, well, how many critics total are saying it's 10, like are giving us that 93? It's something like 150. So I get it. Yes, 100%. There are 1 or 2 or 3 or maybe even 5% of people going, I hate this because women did it, and I hate this because there's gay people in it. And I'm sorry, I got a Southern accent. I don't mean to do that, but there's that percentage, and I just want to be like, that's got nothing to do with it. With those things don't belong anywhere. The problem is that I see people saying automatically, and this is really scary, both sides, if you don't like it or if you do like it, then you're not welcome.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like that's fascism, right? If you don't agree with the government, then you don't love the country. And I'm like, why is this so divisive? And I'm just going to leave my final thought is, why is this so divisive? Why are we being pitted against one another on every front? And I just don't mean media. I mean politically, sexually, gender-wise. It's just this weird time in history. And I feel like when you consider that Disney is $1 billion corporation that invented modern propaganda, I'm not so sure that some of this isn't completely on purpose.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know,
because we're fighting like cats and dogs. And why are like the most inclusive thing I can think of is being a kid in the 80s and being a nerd. I don't think there was many of us that cared about, no, not even with my clique, not even with my people. Like, we didn't care if you were a girl or if you were black or
we also had the luxury. I hate to say this, but we also had the luxury of ignorance. And I don't mean ignorance as in like you're an ignorant asshole. I mean, we just didn't know. We grew up in small towns where, our reality was, literally right in front of us. Right. And so we had that sort of luxury of like the naivety, I guess, of small town living, which I think, for a lot of us played into why, it was easy to adjust to the bigger, as you and I both know, we both moved away to larger urban centers. And so once you get over the initial like
shock,
it's like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah. Trade crickets for sirens, but you get over it.
That's right.
Gaz,
we got one from Gaz. He says, I would give it a 5.6 out of 10. I agree mostly of what you gentlemen bring up. I feel after watching these 2 episodes that it makes me wanting what this show hasn't delivered, the Sith. Well, that's interesting. Which the show seemed to promise, or from what I seem to gather.
And that whole thing could be a misdirect. I think we'll still get something Sithy.
I do too.
I think the thing working against it right now mainly is the fact that we are fully outside of the Skywalker saga.
Oh,
at this point,
yeah.
right?
Which tells me something that I didn't really want to admit to myself.
Which is?
I don't really care about Star Wars unless it's got something to do with
Skywalkers. But again, that's okay. Like,
For me,
no, I get it. I didn't know that about myself, though. I really didn't.
There's an easy fix.
Oh, so you're saying that this is a new revelation for you?
Yeah, even the Mando stuff felt like, I don't know. Is it because it exists in a world where the ramifications of like the fact that Luke Skywalker exists in that reality are the ramifications of the world for which we're in? Maybe that was enough to justify it. But like I guess it's the uncharted territory. I didn't find these problems with the comic, but then again, there's no one performing the dialogue for me, you know.
No, so you're able to interpret that through your own consumption.
And I guess that's what it is for me. Is I feel like you're telling me certain things, but I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone because I have to. I don't understand groundbreaking. I don't understand mystery for the ages. I don't understand compelling or intriguing. I understand a little bit of run of the mill. I don't know if I would even give it a 5, but I'm going to keep watching it. But I had a lot of trouble with this because I really didn't want to step on anybody's toes or offend people. And I knew it was going to be maybe, the most apart we've been on things, but I think we found some common ground.
I do as well. I think at the end of the day, we can all agree, and we've said this before, new Star Wars is better than no Star Wars. So on that, I still feel pretty solid about. And to be honest, Hank, like you've swung me on some of the issues that you've brought up where like I didn't see those quite as clearly before, but hearing your perspective on it, certainly like with the technical stuff, it's an easy one to get behind. And even on some of the more creative things like dialogue choices and delivery.
So it could be, and that's what I'm clinging to right now, because the central theme is hope, which also doesn't seem to be part of the. But I guess if you're going to do it from the Sith point of view, it would be the opposite of that. It would be
right.
But
I don't know the opposite of hope.
I'm going to cling to my hope that they're going to do something so crafty, and that there's a reason for the editing and the dialogue, and the fact that things don't feel linear is because there's some way we're going to see this, which is recontextualized. Because it's some sort of Sixth Sense Fight Club kind of action.
I just want to. I'm going to check in here with the comments here. We got one from Dark Holder. By the way, nice to see you tonight, there, Dark Holder. Haven't talked to you in a little while. He says, "I believe people really don't like Kathleen Kennedy, and she is really driving home this project. And people don't really like the director." On a similar vein, I liked the first 2 episodes, and I don't get the hate yet.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with any of the other work from this director, but
nor am I, to be honest. I don't know Leslie Headland.
I'm familiar with some of it that I don't want to talk about.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I think that they could really solve it all just by having a Yoda cameo.
Oh, I actually meant to ask that. Does anybody think we're going to get that? We've had the spiritual sort of "Don't trust your eyes." We get the line from Attack of the Clones in there, which is indicative of. That is the wisdom of Yoda.
So some of the lead up, she did an interview in the week before, not the interview where she said it's the gayest Star Wars ever. Which is getting a lot of that's okay though.
That's getting flack. That's getting a lot of flack.
It's getting a lot of play. It feels like you were painting a target on your chest, but she did say that Yoda is not in this.
Which I hope is a lie.
Well, it could be a lie, and there has been misdirection before. It seems like an innocuous lie.
Yeah.
But I kind of hope,
as Dark Holder points out, I believe they have said no Yoda cameo. But do we ever trust what they say?
Because like
I don't trust what they say, but I also feel like I don't know. This is going to be maybe the worst thing I'm going to say tonight. It's like I don't want a Yoda associated with this show.
Listen.
If Yoda doesn't appear in this, I can go, okay, that was a wicked fan film. and it's not
Okay,
canon.
okay.
I don't have to think. But if Yoda appears in it and canonizes it, I might sleep on the balcony.
If Yoda is in this, they better not. I do not ever want to see the 1998 Yoda puppet ever again. I'll just leave it at that. I would like to close on this, and this isn't necessarily Star Wars related. This is just entertainment related. This part of our conversation that we had earlier in the week, and it was like, you know, have we forgotten what it is that we watch these shows for? And I just want to, you know, we watch this stuff because we want the escape. We want to be entertained. And sometimes I think, and this is, you know, film, television, it all is kind of superfluous here, but like we put so much on it and we watch it for what we want it to be, when really we should try to watch it more for what it is and see if it rests or settles a little bit easier that way.
I had a deep think about it, like, because I'm not, you know, you both know me, and I don't approach these things lightly. I especially don't approach.
No,
like,
you wouldn't be as well spoken about it if you did.
Right.
Honestly,
so I wrote my notes quite a few times because I wanted
Yeah.
to make sure that I wasn't like, I wanted to be funny enough about it, but I wanted to get the point across.
Yeah.
But
I think you've done that.
I think that the point that you made that made me think the most was that 10-year-old Hank have thought like this, like you do.
Yeah.
And I don't think 10-year-old Hank is as informed as I am, but that goes
No.
without saying. But am I in it for more than the entertainment? The fact is no. I'm definitely here for the entertainment, and if it gives me something else, which Star Wars always has, like, which is this level of, and you know, it's like the ownership that we feel over a property, this connectedness to a world that's not the world we live in, this like little matrix window, if you want.
Yeah.
Am I entertained by what I saw? No, that wasn't entertaining to me.
Yeah, it left something to be desired. On the note of desire, like Gaz has said, like Darkholder has said, I'm right there with them as well. I am here. I was at the beginning of this, before the Acolyte came out, when we were looking at upcoming Star Wars properties that we knew we were going to review, the Acolyte was brought up, and I was like, nah, whatever. The marketing brought me around.
Yeah.
Marketing did bring me around. It got me interested. And so, you know, I'm happy with that. Cautiously optimistic for where we're going next in the next week or two. Hopefully there will be, you know, some revelations and some more subversions that are going to continue to keep my interest in this. And as long as that happens, well, I mean, we'll be here to cover it all. And I hope that you guys will continue to tune in and go on this journey with us, because by far we have spent an awful lot of time talking about how we feel about this. And I don't think I don't think we've been this deep.
Feely?
I don't think we've really, no, because usually we're pretty forgiving,
is that
right?
Okay, so then I'll end with, is that the point of good art then? Did they make me feel something I wasn't prepared to feel? Even if it's apathy and maybe?
Something negative. Maybe. Yeah. Oh, maybe.
I don't know if I feel negative. I just feel, I like Gaz's last statement right there. I feel disappointed.
Yeah. I don't hate this. I'm just a bit disappointed in it. Yeah, and I mean, but again, that could change. That could change.
Yeah, could change.
What's the episode count on this one? Do we know?
8.
Do we know offhand? It's 8. So we've got 6 left.
Yeah,
6 left, and lots more story to tell. Hopefully we can breathe a little bit more on the next one, and I mean that literally, that the sets get a little bit bigger and not so congested.
that US?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I know. Hang on a second.
Oh, it is you.
Yeah, that's me.
Come on, Skeleton Crew.
Yeah. Oh my God. Don't get me started. Yes, Skeleton Crew. So is that it for this week?
I think that's all.
I think we've talked it out. Listen, Tuesday night, we're back. Random Fandom Tuesday, maybe a little less random this week. I got a lot to unpack from Niagara Falls Comic-Con that I didn't get to unpack during the weekend. Telling you my little funny story as to why I'm home early. And we'll cover some other pop culture news as well. And then this week, this Wednesday, episode 3. Don't know what it's going to be.
Or is it Tuesday coming out night?
It's still Wednesdays. I think that was the surprise. We're going to give it to you.
I think
early.
that's the new. I think it's the new slot. I think
Tuesday nights.
Yeah, I remember. So I tried to find the article. I had sent it a while back in the chat, and I couldn't find it again to resend it. But I think that one episode we were watching of the
Bad Batch.
It might have been the Bad Batch. It was indicative of their new timing, which I think is going to be 6 p.m. Pacific time every week. So you guys will get it at 9.
We'll get it at 9. Yeah, we'll get it at 9.
I think
there we go.
And it might be for review purposes. It might be, Tuesday night at 6 Pacific, whatever that is local for wherever you are, Dark.
Yep. Oh, and as Gaz says, on brighter news, Godzilla -1 is on Netflix. Yes, I watched it this week.
Yeah.
Great.
You know me going up. You guys watched the Bad Batch stuff where I was going up on too many kaiju. I watched that the other night, and I was kaiju? Like, yes, it was so good. Oh, it was so good. Really good.
We're 2 episodes in. We haven't got a single kaiju yet.
Oh no,
not a single kaiju.
I suspect we're not. I don't think we're going to see any big beasties in this one, to be honest. But who knows? Who knows? I don't want to make any predictions. I do want to make predictions, but
some Sith Lord will come riding a Rancor.
Let's just close on this. One prediction for next week. Anybody?
Oh,
I don't know.
I can't because I already know what's going to happen. Buckle up, though, because buckle up. Reportedly, it's going to make The Last Jedi look like The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh boy. More with Kalnaka. Will Kalnaka die?
I think Kalnaka dies. Yeah, like Wookiee death in 5, 4, 3.
Yeah,
it would only make sense that, like, although maybe he survives wounded and she makes another attempt. That's kind of a character, like, at least in my head, I'd like to see carry forward. The idea of a Jedi Wookiee live action.
Yeah, Darkholder, another Jedi going down is my prediction.
Yeah.
Okay. So and given the marketing, when we see the all the lightsabers, it is a kind of a foresty scene when that happens.
Right. So they might even get ahead of the plan, if they know where Kalnaka is. And hyperspace works like it has been working.
we were there before. Where do we need to be? Oh, here we are. Wow, that was fast. All right, come and see us on Tuesday night. It'll be another fun hangout one. The phone line will be open, so you can get your comments in that way if you're brave enough to want to give us a call. And yeah, that's it for me. Anything for you guys?
That's all I know.
I'm in.
All right. Well, listen, everybody. Thank you once again, as always, for staying with us. This was a long one, and it's not lost on me that you guys have all the choices for entertainment in the world. The fact that you choose us on a Sunday night, it's very humbling. So thank you so much for that.
It's a big night for us. That was a big, if you guys were looking up at that little eyeball, that was one of our better nights.
Absolutely. So please leave a comment, leave an emoji, just anything to let YouTube know that this video should be sent out to other people. So that would be very helpful, and it's free.
Yeah,
totally.
All right, everybody. I guess we'll see you on the next one Tuesday night, like I said. Otherwise, catch you next Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern, right here for Fandom Power Presents the Acolyte in review. And until then, for Fandom Power, everybody, my name is Wes.
I'm Andy,
and I'm Hank,
and we will see you all on the next one. And bye for now.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Fandom Power. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Stay tuned for our next episode where we'll be talking about another one of your favorite fandoms.